All right. How's my audio now?
Nice and crisp. I like it.
Phew.
No feedback, no echo.
Oh, God damn. My room is just fucking full of cardboard boxes. I gotta fucking move.
Oh, you're in the process of moving?
No, it's comic stuff. I gotta
Oh,
move
okay.
because I've outgrown my space, I guess. I'm in a little English basement and it's just full of shit.
I get it. I've been there. I've been there. I had a collection of comics, 36 if I recall, 36 short boxes. And
Yum.
we needed the closet space, so I ended up selling them. But now I have trade paperbacks.
I remember saying you had a thing for the books.
Yup, yup. That's what Black Friday was for me. This whole weekend, that's what it was. Is graphic novels, man. It's graphic novels. Catching up on. I found stuff that like I'm this close to filling in my Justice League collection from the '90s that ran into the early 2000s. Like almost there, almost there.
Books and cars, right?
Yeah, well, not even so much cars. I just like certain cars. Like I just really like Transformers is my thing. Like I collect that's like the toys that I collect, and even more so like specifically Optimus and Megatron.
Really?
But like I just really like this car. This is one of my favorite cars. But yeah, see
And you
like
liked the movies too? I love Transformers, but I just could not stand the live action movies.
I liked them because it just gave me exactly what I was looking for, which was giant robots fighting giant robots. Like
Do you
I
know
go ahead.
do you know the moment I quit was when Jazz peed on that dude?
Oh, that was Bumblebee. But yeah, that
Was it
was
Bumblebee?
yeah, but that shit was funny. Like that was the
No.
kind of humor that was required for a mass audience to accept the franchise and spend their money on it. That's
As
that
soon as I saw that out, I was like, nope, that's
it's
funny, but that's not funny.
it's the sacrifices you have to make as a fan of a product that allow a wider audience to come into that product and come into that medium to actually appreciate the story and appreciate the characters, because end of the day, Transformers as a concept is pretty cheesy
No, you're
unless you go full robots. And I'm a full time 100% all time supporter of all robots all the time. Fuck the humans, I don't care. Uh, Beast Wars, Beast Machines, greatest Transformers of all time. No one can challenge me on that.
I mean, I just love the original. I would love to challenge you. I'm not going to try. From your defense of the urination scene, you're a better critic than I. I'm not that fair. If I
I
hate it, I hate it.
No, and I completely understand that. I do completely understand that. All right, but let's kick this off. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Panels on Pages. My name is Dalibor, and this is a very special episode. I have been talking with our friend Ben Krieger, and it's funny because now every time I read your name, I think of Archer because there's a character called Krieger on there. And it just I want to like get a sound bite and just play that every time.
You're not the first person. I was a barback for a long time, and they used to call me that. I don't even watch the show though. He's a clone of Hitler, is that right?
He's a clone. I thought he was just a Nazi scientist, but like he is. That whole show is so insane. You can't even.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Although it's I think the first time that I actually considered the fact that tinnitus is a real thing and the fact that I have tinnitus. Like yeah, now I like actually know this thing that happens to me every once in a while. It's just like I get like a piercing either low pitch or high pitch, one side or the other. It just
Oh.
cuts all conversation. I can't focus for a couple seconds. Like it sucks. But I didn't know what to
What
call
was
it. It was just something that happened. And then I was watching that show and I was like, tinnitus, you say? And then I started looking it up and I was like, oh.
yours goes? I had a bad ear infection, and I've got a constant ringing in my left ear. Never stops. Never
Oh
turns off.
man, that sucks.
It's awful, dude.
I bet, dude.
It's like
Mine is very much like it'll not happen for weeks, and then mid conversation it'll just be like out of nowhere, super heavy, low pitch, just boom right in the left ear or the right. It depends. Like it's moves around, but I don't know what it is. It's crazy.
hmm. Yeah, I've got like a constant -5 focus. Can't help it.
Yeah, a debuff. You got a debuff. So, what I wanted to bring you on to talk about is, of course, the campaign Frontier Forever. The people who don't know, what is Frontier Forever and what is the premise and why should people go check it out?
It is an enormous sci-fi series of books and comics, and the main narrative focuses around a woman with no name who is on a planet that she is set to protect, but she doesn't really know why, and she finds herself in the heart of a gigantic conspiracy full of a government that is even worse than of any of the ones that exist right now. It's really a hostile place to live, and she goes around and finds a bunch of marginalized communities that are being screwed over by the government, and she makes some really poor decisions. She's got an AI sidekick as her, like living inside her robotic armor for her arm, and they have a really rough time adjusting. They're born fully grown and given a bunch of memories. They feel like they should be the white savior, but they ended up being the exact opposite. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It sure is, man. It sure is. I got to tell you, like just the concept of like we are so far beyond the like technological revolution and the eventual robot uprising. We're beyond that to a degree that we're now like back to Earth and trying to protect it, like trying to do the thing we should have done in the first place. Like
That's exactly
I
right.
appreciate that.
And that's why it's called Frontier Forever. Is, space the final frontier. But what happens when you run out of space? Everything's got to collapse back on itself, and that's why we're back in the middle.
I like that. I like that. Where did this come from? Like what like I know you started with the novel. Where did the idea come from like out the gate? Like when were you like I'm going to write a book, let me try to figure out its the concept, or did the concept come and you just had to figure out the medium to put it out through?
Real seed was actually a screenplay that I wrote in college for a class, and it was Blind Lady Justice, Captain Planet, and a droid from Star Wars were all college roommates, and they were like arguing about who's going to do dishes. It was ethos, pathos, and logos, and it was just like a very simple triptych kind of comparing characters. Um, and I wrote some other things then, but honestly, I put it down for over 10 years. And it is like built upon that premise of, ethos, pathos, and logos fighting it out. But it's really just a mashup of all of my favorite things, like all of my favorite sci-fi, all of my favorite westerns. The closest thing to it is Once Upon a Time in the West, my favorite Sergio Leone. It's just like I ripped the characters. I ripped two characters' names off exactly. They're not the same characters. They actually swap roles. One is the alpha and one's the beta, and that's Mr. Morton and Frank. Those names are drawn right from the movie, and it's more meta shit about how things collapse in upon themselves. Like if you get far enough into the series, they make a lot of jokes about how they're all like obsessed with old Earth culture. Like they read the same comic books and watch the same shows and listen to the same music that we do. And you're like, that's weird. This is like thousands of years in the future, but they shit on everything that's made after the computer brain interfaces are made. Like once AI gets involved in making art, they're like, nah, fuck all that. We listen to the classics, and the classics are, Metallica and Ninja Turtles, and they know what's up.
That's awesome. That's funny too, because like we're kind of on that precipice right now with a lot of talk in the AI art space and the AI content creation space, AI novel writing. Like there's a lot of that kind of like we're kind of on that precipice, and I can understand like wanting to shit on that because I've seen some of the image generation, and it's not great. It's not great.
I mean, Midsommar is I don't know how you say it, but that thing is fucking on point. They made like behind the scenes set photos of Jim Henson movies and Fritz Lang movies that have never been made. They are so like convincing. Like fake news is about to have a real bump in quality. Like there's going to be a bunch of fake shit. It's just like
it's very
so
like
powerful.
the quality is interesting. Like it depends on what you're looking for. The range is all over the place. Like I played around with Dolly 2 first, and I would say probably that has the least quality, like the least like the quality final product. But Midjourney is so
Mid-Journey, yeah, you're right.
Midjourney is so like it's broader and yet more specific. Like it samples more and understands a broader sense of terminology, and then it's more specific to what you're saying. So like if you say, you know, looking through, like, because that was one of the I was thinking of. I still don't know if I'm going to do it. I might play around with it, but I was thinking of doing my chapter art for my first novel, novella, whatever, my first book, to do that via AI art, and I thought that would be interesting. But it's
Probably
like
should.
it's like what you write is what Midjourney gives you, but it's like the details is where it gets lost. Like what you that's always going to be the case, right? Whatever it can generate, it's just basing on how you describe something, and the more complex you get, like, you know, the first chapter ends with my character. Not really a spoiler alert because it's not. This is plot relevant, but it's regardless. The first chapter ends with him being yeah, it's a teaser. He ends up being captured, and he's in this cell, like he's in this like old ancient, you know, like stone walls, stone floors, wrought iron bars, and he is looking down a single hallway, and there is a single dim light source across the center of the hallway that goes all the way down, and that's all he sees. So I wanted to have that as like the end of the first chapter. But every time I feed it that information, the tunnel is like outside, or there's windows, or there's all these little things that, like, as soon as you say light source, it starts giving you actual lights or window openings, and it's all this stuff. So it gets like you have to be the most specific that you possibly can, but at the same time, it's still not in your head. So like it still doesn't know what you exactly want. So I think the tool itself is going to be really interesting and really good for conceptualizing. I think someone like myself, who is not an artist, who is like a production artist, in my opinion, like I can draw decent, but I would not want to see my art in comics. I don't think I'm good enough.
You can draw.
I would like to be able to write a script, just throw some shit at Midjourney or Dolly or whoever the fuck, and get some like almost like a like thumbnail, like scratch thumbnails, and just hand it to the artist. Like, this is like what I'm thinking generally, so that they don't have to spend all the time like conceptualizing, like just translating my instructions into visuals. Like, this is kind of like where I'm thinking they should go, and then like have like there's like iron out the details so we can go to finals faster. Like that's my ideal methodology. Or like if you want to previs a movie, right? If you want to shoot a short film, throw out some ideas about like how a scene should look, get some get some images out, and then be like, this is what I was thinking, this setup. So you don't have to be like even if you're maybe like not in the room with them, like I don't know. There's just, I think there's a lot of opportunity for alpha work for a lot of different mediums.
100%. And the fine tuning is going to get a lot easier. I was actually in the Discord room when they were like talking about what's next for Midjourney. Yeah, you're right. And they're going to make it 3D eventually. Once we have it able to build a 3D scenario, then you're going to be able to move your camera within it, and you're really going to be able to like get those specific scenes that you want. I thought about doing like trying to do a different comic project using it, and it's just too much work trying to fine tune and getting the exact panels you want. I think for chapter bumpers you could probably get it. I'm surprised you had trouble with the light source more than the character though. Like if you want it to look like a specific character, I think that's really hard.
Well, I'm having it without the character in it.
Yeah,
I would ideally want it to not be. I would ideally not want to show what the character looks like at all. But I feel like the cover probably has to show the character. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe like a shadow, because the whole premise here is this is a spy game. This guy is the man of many faces, right? This guy becomes whoever he needs to be in whatever situation he is. So he has a Rolodex of identities he could whip out on a moment's notice and just be like, hey, I'm Dan Smith. I'm whatever. And so that's kind of why I want to like keep the mystery of what he looks like to even the reader. Like I by the end, I haven't described him in any like definitive way. Like, he's a generic white guy. Like, he's as generic a white guy as I can come up with.
People do love faces on covers, but silhouettes are sweet too. I like silhouettes.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking silhouettes. I don't know. I don't know. I'm still, the cover is like, it's weird because it probably shouldn't be the last thing I'm thinking of, but I really want to push, like, I got to go through a final edit for myself, and then I'm going to go to beta readers, and I was saying, like, I'd love to get it out by the end of the year, but I don't think that's going to happen. But hey, launching a new year with a book release would be cool. So that's
congrats, dude.
Thank you, man.
You're working on that.
That was a huge moment for me, honestly. Like, I was putting it out through the magazine. I started the magazine really, like, truly and honestly, as like a two-sided coin. I needed a reason to, like, force myself to write. So I needed a deadline. I needed something like, this is going somewhere, so I need to finish it. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna start this magazine, because I have a problem where I, like, think of whatever the idea I think of the most macro biggest version of the idea. So, like, Catalyst the magazine, which is what it is now, started as this. The concept was it was going to be the Steam, like, you know, like Steam, the video game platform.
Love it.
It was going to be Steam for indie everything. It was going to be comics. It was going to be music. Like conceptually, it's beautiful, right? But then I was trying to, like, work it out and all these things that it could be, and the things you could have the marketplace on there. Like, you could go, like, ultimate form of this thing is Steam, and you go on there and you can buy Frontier Forever. You can buy Ace Blade. You can buy whatever indie comic you want. Max profit possible goes to the creators, like, maintaining a like almost net zero profit for the actual running of the operation, because it's meant to give the indie creator, like, a space. And
if you build it, someone will buy you out in a second, because they don't want you to do that.
Of course not. No, Steam doesn't want me to do that. Amazon doesn't want me to do that. They want it, like, yeah. But that's the thing is, I don't know. I'm kind of shady. Like, I'll take that money and I'll flip it into the same product with a different brand on it. We'll do it in a different way. We'll do it in an app instead of a website. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll be a little different.
Dude, I'll work for you. That's a great. I mean, that's something that I really fucking wish existed. I really wish we had that.
And me too. Like, there are certain like I see like little hints of it here and there. Like, I see some places get like a component of it, and it's like, you know, like Bandcamp. Like, you can get indie music through Bandcamp, and right. And so, like, that's there, but, like, and you can get some indie comics through what's it called? Global Comics, I think it's called now. That's a platform, and, like, you can go through what's it called? Sear Nova, I think. Sear Nova is, like, another interesting platform. So, like, there's, like, pieces of it everywhere, but I think the thing that's missing is, like, a unified place. Like, if I want a video game on my computer, I go to Steam. Like, regardless of what my computer looks like, regardless of how much I spent on my computer, I'm getting Steam to get a game. Like, I'm not going, like, no one's first thought is to get, like, the Epic launcher. Like, later you find out about the Epic launcher once you do a lot of gaming and shit. But, like, no one starts with the Epic launcher to get fucking Fortnite. Like, you might go to Fortnite and then they're like, oh, you got to download the Epic launcher. So, like, it's like an after effect. But I want to be the place, like, I want to be the Best Buy for indie comics, but, like, without all the bullshit. Like, I want people to be able to go and be like, I like Westerns, I like sci-fi, boom, Frontier Forever. Like, here's Frontier Forever and 10 other fucking choices. And that to me is, like, what's missing in the space. I think a lot of people are doing really cool, interesting self-publishing, and there obviously that's going to give most profits to everybody. And my whole premise would be that there's no exclusivity. So, like, anybody that still wants to sell their digitals through their website or whatever, or through their own app, I don't give a shit. Like, the whole premise is just to have a place for people to go. Yeah. And, like, that, like, devolved, that was, like, the ultimate. So, like, when I realized, I was like, oh man, that's, like, really fucking complicated. I would need dozens of people, coders, you know, all the shit to make this happen. So, like, many hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was like, I pared it down, and it became a website, and it was a writing website. It was called Write My Epic, and it was meant to be a place where you could go and just, like, kind of like what's it called, Wattpad, but I wanted it to be more communal, like more interactive. Like I started some round robin stuff. Like I thought that was a really interesting concept to like bring people in and just like have more of a community experience. And then that didn't really go. And I was like, well, how can I do this where like I don't need other people's input? So I was like, I can just put out a magazine and show off people I like and show off like new comics that I read, show off new projects that are on Kickstarter. And I'm like, and then everybody was doing newsletters, and I was like, I could just do it through a newsletter. Like I don't have to try to like put up a website and then hope people go to it. Like, no, just like I have an actual newsletter. The magazine comes to you in your inbox, and now we are over. Last time I checked, we were over 100, so it could be even more now. We were over 100 unique subscribers, which is fucking awesome. Like that, and I spend zero time advertising. I don't tell, like, if I see a project, I'm like, hey, come talk to me about a Catalyst feature. That's it. That is the most advertising I do. If I see somebody on Twitter talking about, oh, I'm launching in January, hey, come to me in January. I'm going to be dropping a new issue. Let's talk a feature. Like, and that's it. That's all the advertising I do. And the list is growing on its own organically, which is fucking dope. And I monitor the clicks because I'm interested. I want to see the data. And people are clicking through because it's a live PDF. So people are clicking through to the campaigns, to the socials and all that stuff. So I appreciate that. Like I know it's like, it's funny because I've heard, I followed Gary, I still do, but very, much less than I used to, but I followed Gary Vee for a long time. And he talked about, the open rates in the golden days of email marketing were insane and like would blow email marketers' minds of today. And when he mentioned like open rates today are in like the single digits, and I was like, well, mine's 25%. So I was like, hey, listen, 25% is no joke especially when it's a small list, and that 25% maintains as the list is growing. So like people are seeing this content, and that's what I appreciate. Like that's what I've always wanted. That's my long ass fucking way of saying I put out this book through the magazine. Like I put a chapter out through every issue, and finally fucking put it together. When I finally put it together, that was like the fucking aha moment. That was my literal, like, I never thought I would understand what an epiphany was, but I had an actual epiphany. Like, I finished it, and I was like, holy shit. Like, it was one document, 20-something pages of, like, 8.5 by 11 normal print, and I was like, holy shit, like, it's done. Like, I finished a thing, and I can give this to someone to read, and this is fucking awesome. And at that point, I was like, I could just do some bullshit job and pay my fucking bills and not have to worry about, like, am I going to be able, like, because I was trying to launch my own, like computer repair business to, like, fund, creative stuff. And it was going to be this really complicated, like I told you, like, I make this, like, complicated version of everything before I do anything simple. And then when I had that aha moment, I was like, I'm actually able to tell stories, which is what I want. That's what I want to do. And I was like, oh shit, I can do this. I can do this while I do some bullshit job, 9 to 5 and pay my bills. And then it like took all the fucking weight off me of like having to find another job. Cause I didn't like, my last job was a fucking nightmare. So like I was really trying to find something that I was going to enjoy. And every interview I was having was like, bullshit, like a lot of jobs are bullshit. So then I was trying to do my own thing, and that was becoming like a huge stressor. And then I fucking had that epiphany, and I was like, holy fuck, I can just do this, and I can still achieve the thing I want to do, which is tell stories. Like, had a genuine epiphany.
I'm speaking for here, but we really do appreciate you doing all the newsletter stuff. Like, it's helped me a ton. I really appreciate it. And in terms of making the project as big as you possibly can, you are preaching to the choir and the orchestra. Like, Frontier Forever has taken over my life. I also have a main hustle, and this is like, I'm really struggling to like find time to sleep and eat and do all the things that I need to do to stay alive. Like, I've got the comic series, the book series, the anthology series. I'm trying to get into games too. I'm trying to do a video game and a
Oh,
tabletop
jeez.
role playing game.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
just like it's really good, dude. Poachers versus animal hybrids. That's for it's the video game is going to be like Final Fantasy Tactics, where it's really just like you're
Okay.
either
Okay.
maintaining a team of poachers or you're maintaining a team of animals. And then the role playing game is pretty much the same thing, except it's a little more role playing oriented. It's going to be really really fun, and you'll be able to visit events that are in the canon world, so like you can really become a part of the story. I'm so fucking stoked, dude. You play tabletop games?
I play a little bit, like very,
I
very little
see
bit.
I see you rolling your 20 every now and then.
Dude, I got, you know what? Here, let me show you something. Let me show you Saturday. Okay? This is
Yum.
just Saturday. I buy way more than I fucking read. And I got to the point, like I'm doing all these Kickstarters, and you know what's funny? I was looking on Kickstarter, and it showed like super backer under my name. And I was like, oh, maybe like I'm like one of the higher, backers on this project. And then I realized, no, that's because I've spent a lot of fucking money on Kickstarter. So like all of my projects, I am a super backer as a category. And that means I do a lot of fucking Kickstarters. So it was like, I get so many books, and a lot of times I get 2 or 3 books. Like, I mean, with your campaign, well, I still got the box up there, which is, I'll tell you a funny ass story about that in a minute. With your campaign, like I got the prose book, I got the digital comic, and then I got the Tomorrow's Yesterdays, the anthology. I haven't read, except for the comic, I haven't read the other 2 because I have all this shit to read, like it's all there. So like
You didn't read the anthology? You read
not yet.
you read the single issues.
Yeah,
Oh shit, dude, you're gonna love it.
I bet. I'm guaranteeing
Dude,
it. I'm guaranteeing it. I enjoy the universe
it's
already.
up
So
it's up your alley. You're really gonna like the format. Who was I talking to? Andrew Davis, you know him? He's got a show too. He was saying like he was trying to say it wasn't a traditional anthology, but it's so good. You're gonna love it. You're gonna fucking love it.
I'm excited. But you know what? I'm letting the dice decide. That's what I decided I had to do, because it's like I would
I
sit
love
here.
that.
I would sit here and I would just stare at the fucking shelves, and I was like, do I want to read something that like I know, something that's like a comfort read, or do I want to read like something that I like just got, that I've never, like, I just found out about the comic or whatever, the series recently. Like, how do I, like, what? So I would have this choice paralysis. So I said, fuck it. I have these dice because I don't know, I like dice. It's just like a thing. I collect a couple different weird dice. And I was like, I have these dice. I'm just going to fucking roll the dice and literally let the fucking dice decide. And I've read a bunch of cool shit that I wasn't going to, and shit that I, like, it was so, like, down the list for me. Like, honestly, I bought this book. This is a great book. Fantastic read. I bought this book because I remember seeing ads for this in the 90s. I remember Shaman's Tears as like a cool, interesting thing. And I don't think, besides like Danny Moonstar in X-Men and New Mutant stuff, I have never read anything featuring a Native American. So I was like, I'm going to fucking read this book. And I put it on the shelf. I was so far down the list I couldn't fucking tell you. The dice pointed me to that. Like, I read it. Great fucking read. One thing that pisses me off, and that this is like the curation side of my fucking persona, the 0 issue, which definitely takes place before issue 1, is put in last. Because it was published last, and that's fine. But if you're curating a fucking collection, you put that shit in order, because that pisses me off.
Were we just I was just talking about that with somebody. Was that us?
It's possible.
Dude, I keep losing your video. I can't see you no more. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know why you
Okay,
can't see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Strange. But yeah, so like I I let the dice decide, and I ended up reading all sorts of fun shit. Like I bought that book, which is Captain. What the fuck is it called? Captain Stoneheart and the Truth Fairy. I bought it because I love Chris Bacalo's art. Right, he's one of my favorite artists, and but it's like in the Elephant Men universe, kind of like it's a whole thing, but it's a completely fucking weirdo book. It's like super oversized. It's a hardcover, but it's straight up a storybook, and it's written that way. And it was hard for me to read it because it doesn't read like a normal comic book. So, you've got big text, half the pages text, like straight up like a children's storybook. And they're like, I would, I would have flipped through it for the art for sure, but I don't know when I would have read it. But the dice pointed me to it, so I appreciate it. So I will read Tomorrow's Yesterday's as soon as the dice point me to it.
I love that the dice are a functional tool for you because it's also a very good content source. Like I love watching. I want to see what's next.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's like sometimes I hit a shelf, like I hit the shelf with the Spider-Man. Like I have the 4 out of the 5, I think, Saga of Ben Reilly books. And if I'm going to read one, I don't want to not read all of them because Ben Reilly is my Spider-Man. When I started reading comics, my first comic book that I ever purchased was a Ben Reilly Spider-Man comic book. So like I can't not read all of it. And so I was like, I'm not going to read those yet until I find that last book. So that becomes a wild card. And then it's like if something's been like, itching at me, which is what happened with fucking Anomaly. Anomaly's been sitting up there, and I thought that was going to be the hardest read because this thing's fucking massive. It's like 1.5 or 2 feet wide. Like it's a wide format fucking hardcover. I bought a book holder at work. Like I left it at work so that I could hold it, so I wouldn't have to manage this thing while I was reading it. It's fucking obscene. But like it was a really easy read. And it was one of those situations where I was like, the cover artwork is really cool. And I don't know if you know about Brian Haberlin and all his shit, where it's like their studio. They did a lot of stuff, especially in this era. This was like mid 2000s. They did AR stuff. That was like their biggest thing. Every book they put out, like they have an app, like you could put it over the page, like specific pages, and it would like give you a 3D of the ship or the creature or whatever. It's super, yeah, and it's super interesting stuff. And so I was like, like I bought it. I bought it at the convention because the first book, I was fascinated by that. Like I bought the first book. I bought the other book, which is I think Shifter or something like that. Great fucking read. I'm so mad they didn't make more of those. So like I bought into the whole thing, but I just never fucking read it. So then I ended up on a wild card one day, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking tackle this thing. But a really easy read, solid story, interesting, and then. The art, disappointing. The art, honestly, disappointing throughout. But this is where the power of the story comes in. If it is a good story, I don't care. Like, the slider is so heavy on story. Like, if the story is down here and the artwork is all the way up here, that's still, at best, a here story. Because the slider, for me, favors the story so heavily. Because, like, if it's a shitty story, I don't care if it's fucking my favorite artist in the world. Like, if it's Joe Mad putting out his best Joe Mad work, I don't care if the story's shitty. I couldn't possibly care. Like, I will flip through it, but I won't fucking even finish reading it. Like, but I love Joe Mad's art, so I will, I'll probably buy it. I'll probably flip through it. But it's like, if the story is dog shit, I don't care how good the art is. But if the story is great, the art can be pretty fucking dog shit. Like, I will accept some pretty shitty fucking art if the story's pretty decent. Like if the story is good to great, you could probably get away with anything in my book.
You read novels too?
Yes, I actually just bought. I bought Thrill Switch. It was like advertised on fucking Twitter for me or something. And I realized it was a Kickstarter that I missed out on. But they advertised with all the like artwork they have for it. And I didn't realize it was a novel. I thought it was a graphic novel. So I got it and I tweeted at him. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? What is this word shit? Like,
still gotta have the dice lead you there. You gotta read it.
I'm interested. I'm interested. Like I like no, I read novels. I read 2052 or 2050Z rather. Fantastic fucking book.
Yeah, what'd you think? Yeah, dude, that shit is deep.
I really the thing is I didn't realize how hard it was for me to read books at home because I fucking tried reading that shit for months because I got it in and I'm like trying to flip through it. Like I got like 10, 15, 20 pages in. And it was just like, because I've got all my shit here. Got my fucking Transformers, my internet, and all this shit is here. So I just got distracted all the time. And then when I started my new job, I, I would have these downtimes. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to bring a book to read. So it's like,
I love.
like,
I haven't had a job where I could read at work for a long time, but I love reading at work. Back when I could do it.
so I
I
brought
also
it
used
in.
to
I
have a
knocked that shit out in like a week and a half. It was great.
I used to have a job where I was driving all the time and I was doing like 3 audiobooks a week. It was so good. I felt so good about myself.
Damn, man. That's, you know what? Especially if it's a good series, if it's a good story. Like I spent, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 weeks in the Demon Cycle world. And I don't know if you know what Peter V. Brett, the Warded Man, that whole series, really fucking good fantasy. It's like, it's funny because it's like post apocalyptic. It's like the human war happened. Humanity like died off and killed itself with the technology. So then like we're like two like epochs removed from that. There's like elements of, you know, modern civilization, but we like it's everything. It's magic. It's all sorts of good shit. And I had read the first 3 books, but it was funny because listening to it, I realized how little I remembered from the second 2 books. I could tell you the first book damn near scene by scene, and I only read it once. I could tell you the first book damn near scene by scene, and I remembered the one thing from the book 3. I could not like shit was coming up in book 3 and I was like, oh fuck, I forgot about this. Like I constantly was saying that. I was like, oh shit, I completely forgot about this. But yeah, audiobooks, man, that's been another great thing because like I'm not on the phone a lot. A lot of it is email shit at work. So I have a little open ear headset that I put on, just listen. I spent like 3-4 weeks in that universe. It was great.
Had so many requests for an audiobook of Under the Shadow of the Plateau, so I'm finally doing it. It was kind of expensive, but I got this Brit to do it, Dan Blackwell. I'm very fucking excited.
You bet your ass I'm gonna read it then because I'm gonna listen to it.
I mean, it's like I feel the same way. I'm dyslexic as hell. Like I'm very severely dyslexic, so reading is like really laborsome for me. And I still read because I love it, but like I love audiobooks more. Easier.
Understand, man. I understand that. What is so is you mentioned to me that the Regenesis is sort of a retelling of the novel, or
Oh, it's the direct prequel.
prequel? Okay, that's what it was.
Regenesis is the story of the first Marshal, and the twins are on their rite of passage. They're taking a year away from the tribe to like prove their manhood, and then they come back, and that's Regenesis. And then under the shadow of the plateau is the second Marshal investigating the disappearance of the first Marshal, and the one twin looking for the other one.
So I'm reading it in what? Don't get me wrong, in my correct order. I prefer chronological order of shit. So I'm reading it in my preferred order anyway. Awesome.
Chronological, you'd want to start with the anthology. So the anthology tells
Right, that's true. That's true.
Backstory.
That's true.
That tells how we get from from Old Earth where we live up to where their shit's going on. But yeah,
Well, then
I mean,
I might have to snag that on the next wild card then.
you might, yeah, please, I can't wait for those dice to hit it. Oh shit, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the about the preferred rating order, you might have to abandon your preferred reading order because this is like, to toot my own horn, it's really meticulously designed so you can start reading wherever. Whichever one you start on, it's going to give you a different kind of mystery when you read the other ones. You'll be like, how do these connect? And you won't get till the end of whichever one you read second until you see how the overlaps go.
Okay.
It's meta as fuck, dude. I told you, there's too much going on. Like, I have a hard time
I like that. I like that.
I have a hard time pitching the story because like there's so many places where I want to start. I took a George Lucas approach when I first started writing. I was like, I want to start where New Hope starts. Like I want Darth to be, I want that reveal to be really really good, and it's there. And I wrote it, and then I was like, you know what? I can do this backwards and forwards. I think I did a better job on Regenesis than Lucas did with 1 through 3.
I mean, look, to be fair, there is a video, and I can't believe this exists. I can't believe he let it get out. But there is a video of George Lucas watching like the first cut of Phantom Menace and him just saying, I think I might have gone too far. And I think
No, really?
that is the most like cherished thing I know about Star Wars for me. Like I am an okay fan of Star Wars. Like I enjoy Star Wars, but on a very very surface level. I am by no means like I would never call myself, even though I fucking hate the term, a true fan. Like I enjoy the originals for what they were. I enjoyed the prequels for what they were. I honestly didn't think that Jar Jar was like as shitty as people made it out to be. I think like people's reaction to Jar Jar was way skewed. Like I understand that it wasn't like it didn't fit necessarily the tone, and I think like if he had gone with a more serious, I don't think that movie needed comedic relief.
We already have R2. We have
Right.
R2.
Yeah. So like that movie didn't need comedic relief like that. So they could have made him much more of a serious character, and I think it would have been way better.
Ooh. I was always thinking about cutting him, but you're right. Why didn't they make him like a badass? They should have made him
Honestly, not even a badass, just like a regular dude. Because all the other people from his species weren't weirdos, like weren't like quirky. They were the generals and fucking politicians, and they were like
Actually, that fat leader had a few quirky. What was he? He was like jiggling his cheeks or whatever.
yeah, but like
Yeah,
like
they,
little
they
like
did
I
the,
like
he
I,
did the,
if they did a little
they
bit
did,
of cultural stuff, I understand, but like his whole thing was quirk. Like he didn't
yeah.
have like a normal, like a neutral. He didn't have a neutral. He was always on. And I think if they had just kind
They
of
did the Gungans wrong.
yeah, I
They
think
did
if
the
they
Gungans
had
real
made them
wrong.
a little more just like a regular species, like I think that would have been fine. Because I really like the comedy of it. It doesn't help the movie, and that's the thing that's
Yeah.
the thing that I think a lot of people react negatively to is the fact that they put him in there specifically for comedic relief, and it didn't help the movie. It didn't make the movie like easier to digest because he was definitely like playing around with a lot of CG. He was playing around with a lot of new concepts. So like, like the I would have, even though it still kind of is, but I would have hung the whole movie on that pod race. I would everything in
The
that
pod race
movie.
is fucking sweet.
The pod race is
I mean,
fucking
I
sweet.
like
It created one of the best video games ever known to mankind.
I got whatever all the accomplishments of that. Did you play with the 2 controllers too?
What?
There's a cheat code where you can have the dual throttles with the fucking middle stick, dude.
Oh my
It's
god, no!
so good.
I'm gonna need to check that out. But
Yeah,
no, like
I
that's
got all the lap records on all those. I spent like 4 or 5 days banging out.
dude.
Like a few years after it
I
came
am
out.
not a gamer by any stretch, and I can't even tell you. That was my cousin had the PlayStation, and I would go over there and I'd be like, yo, let's play that pod racer. Like that's what we're playing. Like I don't care what else. I don't care Final Fantasy. I don't care about Final Fantasy pod racer. Like
I like a lot of one. Episode 1 is like it has so many strong
yeah,
points. Like Qui-Gon Jinn, every scene with
Qui-Gon's
Qui-Gon
dope.
Jinn is fucking
Qui-Gon's
money.
dope. Qui-Gon's dope.
Fucking
I
love it.
liked. I liked. I mean, like I said, I liked the trilogy, the original trilogy for what it was. I liked the prequels for what they were, and I actually personally enjoyed all the new ones except the like conscious choice in the middle one to step away from the plot that was laid out. Like
I loved 7. Like 7 really like pulled me back in. I was like, dude,
yeah,
I'm really psyched for 8 and 9. But then 8 and 9, I couldn't. I could not.
eight
They're so.
eight was just because it was a different director and a different director who made a public and conscious choice to be like, no, we're just not going to follow that plot. That was stupid. I really thought that was stupid. Like, oh, you just because like when Snoke got killed, I was like, oh well, okay, we're just okay. Okay, fine. Like it became like a nothing, and I was like, well, but like we kind of built him up to be this like something, and he became a nothing, and I was like, all right, whatever. But then when he was like, oh, your parents are nobody, I was like, the fuck do you mean? No, yes, they are. Fuck yourself. Like I was sitting there, like the whole setup of the first movie was that she is somebody. Like the whole setup of the first movie was that she is somebody, and then you tell me no, fuck yourself.
I could have bought into is it Metachlorians? I could have bought into like it's a Metachlorian selected a nobody thing.
Yeah, but they abandoned that after the originals.
Yeah,
like
they just suck.
No, yeah, and like I would have been fine.
They abandoned Finn too. Like they really just like gave him no screen time in the like they didn't know what they were fucking doing.
It was like I said, the second one. I mean, like what. Like right off the top of your head, what do you remember about the second one besides the fight in the throne
room? That first scene too. Where was that? Which one starts with Poe Dameron? Is that 1 or is that 7 or 8?
7.
Where he's getting Then no, I don't think I remember anything about 8. But like I viciously hate those movies. 8 and 9 like really make me
really.
Angry.
I think 9 is a near perfect film.
Ugh. 9 has fucking space horses. Why the fuck are space horses a thing? That's not a thing.
No clue what you're talking about.
They ride on the side of a superstar destroyer. For some reason they're like in upper atmosphere when all those superstar destroyers are coming out. Am I mixing? Yeah, they were riding horses. No, I remember it. I wish I didn't.
That wasn't in space, was it? That was on the
It was upper atmosphere. It made no fucking sense. They just wanted to show a bunch of guys on horses.
I genuinely don't remember what you're talking about. It's kind of funny.
You blocked it out because you wanted to say it was a perfect movie.
No, I think it's I think it's a near perfect movie, and I think the only thing that's I mean, I don't remember all the pieces of it, obviously, but I'm talking about the main plot. The A plot I think is almost perfect except for the kiss. I think the kiss is stupid. It made no fucking sense. And then insult to injury when they flat out said, oh, we filmed both, but then chose poorly. Like, they didn't say they chose poorly, but, like, they chose the wrong one. It's like, we filmed both. Like, the one that makes sense where they don't kiss because there's been zero romantic tension this whole time. There's been zero romance at all. And I'm like, oh, my God, we're going to get a trilogy of films with a male and female, like, protagonists that don't hook up? Holy shit.
I want that, too.
I was like, holy shit, this is going to be great. And then they made him kiss at the end. And I was like, but fucking why? Like, the whole thing. And I honestly, a lot of people were like, oh, there's all the sexual tension. I was like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't sexual tension. I thought it was pretty clear that it was, I am a broken person. I think you are broken in a similar way that you don't know who you are. And we could just maybe help each other get through being broken.
Well, a lot of real-life romances do start that way.
Well, those are problematic romances.
Yes, they are.
Those are problematic romances, and I don't think they end well. So, like, no, I liked. It's funny because it was like, and then the whole. I mean, the outrage behind it. Hold on a second. Let me. Hello.
I got your video back.
Literally recording a podcast.
It's going to take me 26 minutes to get home.
Okay. You should probably go by yourself. Bye. She's like, you want to go to Target? I'm like, I'm busy. Like, come on, man. But no, like, I think, I think there's a lot of good that could have come with those movies, but the outrage is the fucking thing that really pissed me off the most. Cause like, I was like, oh, Star Wars is kind of like, we take all kinds. Cause like there's fucking tiny bears, large fucking Wookiees, and fucking everything in between. There is literally something of every kind of creature you could come up with in Star Wars. Like there's a big fat slug dude. He's one of the main villains in this whole fucking franchise. And these motherfuckers are like, a girl? How could they? And I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like,
Yeah, and I think we've talked about that a bunch. Like, I really, the whole strength of the bigots is just like it's so overpowering. I try my best not to listen to it, but I get sucked in. I can't help fighting with those people.
It's
Yeah.
hard, man. It's hard because it's like it's not logic. It's not any kind of any like it's not anything. Like like when they my only like I was very much like when he took off his helmet in the first trailer for 7, and he takes off his helmet, and I was like, oh shit, I wonder what the story is. That was my first reaction. I was like, how did we get a black stormtrooper? That was my question, because I was like, aren't they all clones? Now I'm curious, what's going on? Like right there, I'm like, story.
Stormtrooper.
Yeah, like what's going on? Like what is happening? How did we get here? I'm into the story. Like for me, that was a pull. For a bunch of people, it was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Blah, blah. The fuck? Like, how are you not curious? Like, this is plot. This is plot development. Here is something you do not expect. Like,
And then it gets deeper because it totally does make sense. They're not making clones anymore. The clone army has been eaten up. It's not there no more.
it makes it exactly. It makes perfect sense. And the fact that they conscript people, and like I read the like prequel comic, they like fucking kidnapped him as a child. Like all of it makes perfect fucking sense. I was like, yeah, all of this is very on brand for the Empire / New Order. Like all of this is very on brand. Like nothing's like I don't understand any of the outrage. And that's the thing. It's like sometimes I get it. Like I get where people come from, but honestly with Star Wars, I'm like, we are in a galaxy far, far away. How are you fucking freaked out? Like,
What I do feel bad about, I haven't seen fucking Obi-Wan yet, and I really, really want to. Is it good? Did you watch it?
I haven't seen it. This is what I tell you. I mean, I'm such a surface level, like consumer. Like I really can't even call myself a fan. Like I am a surface level Star Wars consumer, because I get a little bored of like, it's all about the same 6 fucking people. And like we watched 9 movies about the same family, effectively. Like hard. You know what I loved the most about? It's kind of funny because it's like a lot of the shit that like outrage people say. The shit that I liked, one of my favorite scenes in 9 was the training sequence for Leia. And not because, oh, she needs to earn it or some bullshit. I just really wanted to see them as brother and sister. I was like watching Luke and Leia be brother and sister. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
Awakening the hater in me. My biggest gripe, maybe not my, one of my biggest gripes is Leia is supposed to be a fucking badass. I don't care if she chose a life of politics. She's supposed to fucking already be like a killer. I don't know why. I mean, I know it's because of the casting things, but like they should have made her a fucking Luke's equal. Like she should have been out there slaying shit.
What do you
I
mean?
love
She was
Leia.
always going to be a politician. I mean, are you talking about the old expanded universe?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I
that's
mean, I want that so much. I want her like as soon as the Empire falls, like yes, she's obviously going to go into politics. She's obviously going to like continue being a rebel leader and whatever instead of the new Empire leader. And it skips over why she fails so hard. She's still a politician, but she obviously didn't succeed because the new order comes up, and she didn't become a Jedi either. Like it's just like I wanted her to be so much more badass than she was.
I see what you're saying. I mean, like I definitely, I think there is some room for exploration of that character. I mean, I don't think they're going to do it. Although they are pretty quick, pretty fucking quick to deep fake Luke. He showed up like 6 fucking times since
He looked pretty good.
yeah.
He looked pretty good.
The first time I was very much like, that was pretty good. That's okay. And then when that kid on YouTube fucking did it better, I was like, well, now it's disappointing.
That man. Mm-hmm.
I was
True.
like,
That's
now it's disappointing because you're a fucking multi-billion-dollar company. This dude on YouTube did it in his basement and it looks better. Like, hurts a little bit.
Is he getting paid yet? I hope they snap.
I think that's what I heard. I heard that they hired him on, and I think he helped with the appearance in what was it? Boba Fett.
watch those shows, but yeah,
Yeah, I haven't seen Boba
I
Fett
haven't watched
yet.
any of
I
them.
haven't. I've seen Mando. I've seen the first 2 seasons of Mando. I think it was good. I think Mando is good. I think it's a good show. I love, like, for me, a lot of it is like the process. Like, I love the technology in use. Like, knowing that they use that fucking 3D monitor space,
Yeah, that shit is dope.
super fucking incredible, dude. So like sometimes I'm watching and I'm like, how did they, like, which part? Because it is genuinely difficult, hard to tell. So I'm sitting there and I was like, are they outside? Is this in the room? Like, because it's very hard to tell when it's done right. I mean, like, even with simple shit like when he's riding I forget what they're called, but when he's riding that big creature.
Is it Bantha? I don't
Yes, I
remember
think
either.
it's a bantha. Yeah. So when he's riding it, I thought they made a fucking doll. Like, I thought they made like a practical, and then I saw the behind the scenes, and it's just like a one of those mechanical bulls. Like,
It looked good though.
that's the thing, right? It looks so good, and I appreciate the effort went in, like, that went in to make it look like it really fits in the era that it's set. Like, it really, really fits in the era that it's set, and because
The story.
because
I feel exactly the same. I feel exactly the same way about the storytelling too. Like they went with such a good pace. It feels like an old serial, and I think that's why Mando season one. I wouldn't say it goes all the way through season two, but like season one, it like matches the original vibe so well. Not just visually, but like storytelling too. It's like,
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. It's funny too, because like I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying that a lot of people apparently just like geek out over the High Republic era, which is like the era of peace, and like I honestly, like, I never understood that. I'm like, the stuff that I hear the most about, at least from the people that I know that are Star Wars fans, they always talk about the Old Republic. They talk about pre days, like before the High Republic era, before the era of peace and the era of prosperity. Like, because that's the thing. Like, when we walked into Phantom Menace, like, that was kind of the end of the High Republic era. It's like everything was great. You fucking, space taxis and shit. Like, you like 2-person fucking beautiful, glorious looking ships, and then we went from that to like cobbled together fucking rebel freighters and shit. And like, I appreciate the evolution of the technology in that, because I don't know, like, it'd be kind of boring to watch, like, because Star Trek proves that it's boring to watch peaceful, like, prosperity shit. Because the first season of Star Trek Next Generation, a lot of the shit is just like shenanigans. It's not real threats. It's not real conflict. It's like they go to a planet and Wesley crashes into a thing, and then it's a moral debate. Granted, great episodes, great show. I'm very much a Star Trek fan, but like
TNG
that.
number one.
But I'm sorry.
TNG number one. What's your favorite Star Trek?
Voyager. Voyager is home.
Yeah.
Voyager is home
Oh, I
for
think
me.
you said it.
Like, that's
I'm a
very
T-
much.
I'm a TNG.
TNG is good. I think TNG is probably. It's hard. I think it's fourth now, dude. Like, DS9 is definitely DS9 is definitely 2, because DS9 dealt with some really heavy shit, and you cannot take it away from that. Like, that is so good. Discovery, honestly, every season keeps climbing for me. So like, Discovery was probably, because I think TOS and TAS probably share the bottom spot till the end of time for me. I can't imagine liking something less than those.
Storytelling.
It was just goofy. It was a lot of goofy shit. I love watching it because it's funny as shit to watch them stumble through all the shit, because it was the Confederation, and then it was like Star Force before it was Starfleet, and all these like little things. It's funny as shit. Like, so like the process junkie in me just loves it. In one episode, Kirk's wearing blue, Spock's wearing gold. They just didn't know what the fuck they were doing in the first season. And I love it. So like, until they figured it all out, that shit's funny as shit to me. That's really entertaining to watch them go through that process. But like, the storytelling's kind of weak, and it's a little goofy. Like, it's 60s storytelling a lot. Like, it's really hard to watch anything from the 60s with a serious eye. Some of the stories are really good. I think some of the episodes are truly like transcendentally good. Like I think they're good beyond time. The computer simulated war fucking planet where they simulated battle and they would just like basically you would have to volunteer to die based on like the mathematical projections of this computer of how many people would have died in an actual war to just like maintain the population. It's a fucking insane concept, but like I think it's just like the idea that like people have to die in order to maintain peace. Like it challenges that very heavily. Like it's there are some really really good like high concept stories, but then they also like face off against like a fucking imp who pretends to be Zeus. So like, like there's like it's all over the place. But like the first season of TNG, you know, you have those very like moral and ethical quandaries, but like there's no action. I mean, like hell, they were trying to make the Ferengi the like dangerous species in the first season, and that didn't fucking fly at all. So then they ended up bringing in Klingons and bringing in like shit like that people knew and people could understand. But then like when you got into later seasons of TNG, that's when it got good. When you brought in the Borg, when you brought in the actual like action portion of it, like that enhanced stuff. I always thought it was funny. Like one of my favorite things from the 2009 film, and like in the theater when Chekhov goes to teleport them mid fall, when he has to do the fucking fancy calculations to get him to teleport, he runs through the fucking hallway, and I was like, oh my god, they made the hallway walk exciting, and I thought that was hilarious. that movie is like if you just shifted the dial from like story all the way to action, that's what those movies were for me. I still think they were I think they were good movies, but like those will never be as good as watching a season of Trek for me.
No, I like those. They were. I mean, you could tell they were made by fans, and they that was very intentional.
Yeah.
They're like, let's make an action one for fans.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's good stuff, but like, I think really even DS9, like the best DS9 shit is like everything that people talk about from DS9 that are like the big episodes are the episodes when Cisco has to fucking trick an ally into helping them, has to fucking kill a bunch of people. Like there's a lot of these morally gray and, you know, dark episodes that people look at, because like the episodes where it was like the biggest problem was Quark overcharging people or whatever, you know, Quark trying to scam someone, those aren't the episodes people talk about. Those are like the fun episodes, but they're not the episodes people are like, oh man, that was DS9.
Yeah, TNG is always going to be my favorite, mostly just because of nostalgia. It's like what I was watching live, and I, you know, the cast is just like I can't. Picard's my captain.
Yeah,
Picard's my fucking captain.
And that's how I feel exactly. I feel the same way for Janeway.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're DS9. I mean, like DS9. The fact that it brought a couple characters from Next Generation, like that was perfect continuity for me. And the fact that Voyager launched from fucking DS9, beautiful. All of that shit, to me, that brings my nerd fucking pheromones all the way up. Like, that shit is fucking gold to me. Because I'm like, no matter what happens in this far-flung corner of the galaxy, they launched from DS9. This is the same universe. like you can't argue that. And that's I mean, I always like a story where it's, you know, fish out of water. And I think that was probably the most out of water a fish ever got. Like taking someone completely away from all the comforts, all the security of the Federation. You took that whole group of people, put them completely out of everything they know. Not even just like their own like people, their own like the resources, the navigation, the species around them. Like they don't know anything. They don't know the power dynamics. They don't, you know, like if you are in the Star Trek universe and you are just like Joe Schmo with a fucking frigate, you know, if you near the fucking the Romulan border, the neutral zone, you're gonna get, you know what's going on, you know where you can't go, you know where you can go, and that was the difference in the Delta Quadrant. You had no fucking clue. They stepped on people's toes all the time, and that's where the conflict came from. Yeah, exactly. Frontier. It was 7 years of fucking Frontier. But that's why honestly a lot of people don't, but that's why I like Picard, because it wraps up some of those stories, specifically 7 and 9. Are you watching Picard?
I haven't watched anything for like months.
Damn, man, you got to take a day. Take a day, man.
Quit my day job is what I need to do.
I mean, hey, if Frontier Forever is making that money,
it's not though.
I said it's not though. Well, you know, once, because do you have a finish number for Regenesis? Or do you have like a complete?
Yeah, right now it's 7, but I'm probably gonna have to stretch one issue to 8. It's probably gonna be 8.
8 makes sense. 8's a good collection.
Yeah, I'd also rather have a round number than an odd number. But right now it's written at 7.
I believe in you. I think you can do it. Because then,
then
you're going to do another trade, and then you're going to do another trade. You're going to have a lot of special features in the back. You have a lot of sketches in there for me.
Do you think I should do 2? I've been waffling whether, they're 32 pages all so far. They'll probably all stay that way. I wonder if I can fit it in 1. I would love to fit it in 1. Would you prefer 2?
What do you mean? Oh, no. I think the whole series. The whole series should be in 1. One book. I mean, I'm a fucking and I'll show you here, omnibus guy as well. So
this way I only have to get rolled once. That way.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's for sure that that is. But you know what, that matters. But no, I just be like, you could do a little more as far as like layout, and you could have a little more fun. Because I think depending on what your plans are after Regenesis, right? If you are doing another comic series, if you're doing something set before or after, or whatever, I think it could be interesting to omnibus Yesterday's, Tomorrow's, and Regenesis.
I mean, that's just hard to print. It's so many pages. Tomorrow's, Yesterday's 112, I think.
Yeah.
One,
oh no. I mean, like your Kickstarter goal would have to go up for sure. I mean, no question about it. You look at something like, someone just did that. It was a 456 page book. It was, I forget what it's called. Something Souls. And regardless, they did it. They hit it, but like the goal was, I think the goal was 25K. Like it's to. Because first of all, as soon as you go hardcover, the numbers automatically increase. Like I was looking at that. That was one of the things I was looking at. So the book I'm looking at, the book I'm working on now, is a prequel set in the universe of this comic series that I've been working on for fucking 8 years, almost 7 years. And
drawing it too?
No, I mean like I've concepts and stuff. Let's see. What's the off chance? Because my sketchbook is right here, which I haven't brought to work yet, which I should. But let's see. What's the off chance that I have an actual sketch from my own property?
I wish I could draw.
I do. Oh, look at that shit. Look at that shit. So I've got a little bit of sketches here from the Wolfpack universe. And
is your assassin?
Yeah. Spy assassin kind of stuff. It's the way and like you mentioned that you have a hard time pitching it. I have been working on pitching this book so fucking long, because every time I pitch it, I want to tell people the whole story, and that's not a great pitch. So the way I've narrowed it down, I still don't know if this is a great pitch, but it's bad versus worse. It's mercenaries versus fucking worse mercenaries. And in a very dark world, in a very dark universe, and there are no good people in this world. Everybody has an angle. Everybody's out for something. And I had to really stick to that when I made this book, because I had this character at the beginning, and she was going to be kind of a throwaway character. It was just somebody for my main dude to like interact with on the plane, to just like show off how he can just kind of shapeshift for the situation, right? He was just gonna chit chat with her, and she was like, to me, I was like, this is my one pure character in the world. And when I went through the first edit with my friend, and she was like, if she's not going to have a purpose, like later, if she's not going to be part of the story, if she's not going to direct the plot in any way, she doesn't need a name. She doesn't need like dialogue. Like none of this is necessary. And I was like, fuck. And she's like, so what is she? She's, what is she? Is she, another agent? She worked for another agency or whatever. And I was like, fuck. And then like my brain started going. And I was like, why is she on that plane? What the fuck does she know? And I was like, shit, like I had this one character. I just wanted her to be a small business owner who ran a fucking pastry shop. That's all I wanted her to be.
So your protagonist isn't redeemable either?
No. I didn't say not redeemable. There are redeemable people. I think there are people, the main team. So the whole thing here is, the main characters in the comic series is a organization of mercenaries. That's really the best way to call them. An organization of mercenaries that employs various unique tactics and techniques to achieve their goals. And the key is that they screw up. In the first arc, they screw up major. And that causes them to like reevaluate their process, and they like fine tune how they handle jobs and how they take jobs, because they don't want collateral damage, because collateral damage makes people look at stuff. Like when you accidentally kill an entire village of people that was not the target, but your intel said otherwise, and you just ran based on your intel, and now you're sitting there, and there are people investigating a massive massacre in a small village. What's like eyes are being pointed in your direction, and they're like, no, we're just here to like do our shit, operate, make money, do whatever we want, and we don't want unnecessary fucking eyes looking at us. So
I got it.
Like they're good by way of not being horrible. Like that's the best way I could say it, because like the antagonist group of mercenaries just doesn't give a shit. They will light an entire fucking village on fire to kill one person. They do not give a fuck. Like as long as their job is done and they get paid, they don't care who died on the way. They don't care if anyone saw them. And it's like a split. It turns out it's like a splinter group that were basically people who didn't have patience to like wait for the process for the techniques and shit to develop the way that the original like plan, the original like boss of the Wolfpack team was envisioning. Like he was trying to go a certain way to build his team that required time. And they were like, nah, fuck that. They shock and awe. Give them the most fucking shit, best weapons, most whatever we can give them. And he's like, that's not what we're doing. They're like, well, we're fucking out of here. Like, we're going to go, fuck you. Like, we don't want to do this. And they went off and started their own thing. So, like, the conflict is that they just went off. And in the first arc, they fuck with them. And I didn't know how it was like, because I like world building. There's a lot of fucking backstory to a lot of these characters, and I was like, how do I do this? And like yourself, you have a prequel. I was like, I could present some of this like prequel shit as just like a novel, and I was like, I could start there, publish that, and use that to put the comic out, because the comic script is done, and I think it's great, honestly, personally. But
how many pages is that?
It is, you know what? That was another fucking process I went through, because I started plotting it in like 2008, and I was plotting for 22-page standard print issues. And in 2017, I did, I don't know if you heard of, it's called the 100s, and it was like the idea of you work at least 30 minutes a day on your own project for 100 days, and you documented it in some fashion. It was started by an artist, and I honestly think the whole kind of thing is dissolved because of a lot of infighting. It kind of became like really organized, and then it dissolved because of a lot of infighting. Regardless, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Like, but I because a lot of them were artists, But I'm like, I don't draw, but I'm like, I have this fucking script that I've been sitting on for fucking 10 years or whatever. I'm going to make this script. And I sat down and I got to page 3 and I finished my exposition and I looked at my outline and I was like, I had 3 pages of exposition. What the fuck am I like? I'm like, I could pad it out and make this guy say more words, but I'm like, but I'm really comfortable like with, he's told me as a reader like what we need to know to go to the next thing. So I'm like, for like 3 days, I was trying to figure it out. Like, what do I do? Like, do I add scenes? What happens? Do I combine issues? You know? And then I was like, but why do I need to make a 22-page issue? It's the digital era. I can make however fucking many pages I want. So then I just wrote it until the end of that story, that chapter, and I got a solid 10 pages. And I was like, I'm okay with
So
that.
you kept the world building stuff at the beginning, the exposition part?
The exposition was there, but it's just like when I had plotted it, you know, damn near a decade earlier, I had plotted it as a 3-page, you know, probably way too wordy exposition. I just wrote like pages 2 through 5 or 3 through 5 or whatever exposition. Like he tells them the mission and explains where they're going and all this stuff. That was my little note. And when I wrote it in, you know, 8 panels. I was like, he's done. Like, what I could have him say more shit, but like, this is a tactical strike team. They don't need a lot of bullshit to go do their job. Like, this is their boss. This is who your target is. This is why. Go kill this motherfucker. like that. I was like, they don't need a lot of fucking convincing. You know, this isn't the Avengers. They don't need a fucking moral reason. This is the boss. He says, go kill this guy. We're going to go kill this guy. So I turned it into a 10-page script and I wrote the rest of the series and it became 5 issues at 10 pages and the last issue is 15. And it reads tight. The pacing's like, I like the pacing. I like every part of it. And I was like, this is dope. And then I'm like, 65-page comic book content. I can do some like sketches and all that shit. I'm like, make it a 100-page trade. That's solid. That's a solid trade to me. Like,
Yeah, what's going on?
Art costs money. You know that.
Definitely do. Yeah, but you got to do it. You still got to do it.
I know, and that's why I had a lot of this like background story element stuff that I wanted to kind of I was gonna include it as just these like little, you know, like found government documents or whatever explaining who these people are. And then I was like, well, why don't I like write a story where someone finds these documents? And that's basically like what this is. This prequel novella is about this character who goes. He's sent by a official in the government on a covert mission to find out about this thing. Who it's like. We knew about it, but like people don't know about it because when it started in like the coming out of Desert Storm. Like this whole project and program kind of started building up in that era. And it's funny because I started it in that era because I read, this might have been a misread on my part or something, but I read that General Schwarzkopf, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure it was Wikipedia, but when I've gone back to try and reread that same information, I've never found it. The way I read it originally, and this is where the concept, where the timeline came from, I read that General Schwarzkopf came out of Desert Storm basically complaining that we hadn't reacted like firmly and strongly to a lot of things. It would have gone way better for us if we had been more like decisive and like just gotten some shit done basically. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like that mentality sounds like a guy who would start like an off books assassin group. Like that, you know. And it's funny because like I don't have any evidence that I ever read that. I manifested that fucking mentality out of nowhere apparently.
No,
but
I like it. I mean, even if it is something that, even if you imagined it, I love drawing things out of real current shit. My favorite thing about Dune is how the planet's called Arrakis.
Yeah.
And the subtitles for the new Dune movie they had Zendaya saying Iraq is. Like, it's all such a blatant allegory for the situation in Iraq. It's like,
they really wrote that in the fucking...
The subtitle, it was the auto subtitles picked it up. When she said Arrakis, she says, my home planet of Arrakis, and my home planet of Iraq is...
Damn. Because
It's
that
fucking
I
nuts.
wasn't even thinking about. Because was that
In
written?
case you were, if you, in case you were wondering how ambiguous this is, like the auto captioning can't discern the difference.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, like how and that's the thing. I like a lot of the characters and like the general that sends him on the mission at the beginning of the book. He's like I based him very definitively on like a real dude, like a real dude that if you were around in the like early 2010s, late 2000s, you know this dude, but I never say his last name. And I'm like,
I love that.
these are just first names. People don't. Anybody could have these names.
Did I, did I tell you about Dr. Werbos?
No.
This is not my favorite thing, but it might actually be my favorite thing about the entire Frontier Forever thing. So the Werbian beings, which are like you don't really understand what they are, but they're some kind of machine race that people are really scared of. And they're called Werbian machines because as I was researching AI, I found Dr. Paul Werbos, who is a legit, he's like coined the father of the backpropagation of errors. Like he really is a pioneer of machine learning. And he's this cute old man who has a very philosophical approach to science, and he's like a really great scientist. And I fucking cold emailed him. I was like, it was just like a fanboy letter. I was like, I've just been reading a bunch of your work. I'm researching for a book. Would you like to consult with me? And he was like, yeah, definitely. And he sent me a bunch of his papers. And as soon as like he was friendly when he wrote back, I was like, I'm naming my fucking the future race after you. So Dr. Werbos is a character in the story, but he's also a real guy. And the prologue in the novel is written by him.
That's I was wondering because I flipped through the book and I was like, who the fuck is this
It's got his
doctor
real
dude?
picture in it.
That's
It's a
fucking
real
crazy.
picture of the real guy.
I saw the picture, but I was like, who is this fucking doctor? That's fucking
Isn't that fucking
awesome.
dope?
That's so fucking
I
cool,
like
dude.
it was so serendipitous. Like I was like thinking because there is a big werewolf element, and like when you read it, it looks like werewolf, and you're probably gonna pronounce it that way, and it's spelled different, but like it was just so kismet. I'm so glad I found him, and he really is like adorable. Like he has a web page that looks like it was built in 1995, probably because it was, and it says in big bold text, "What would it take to give a computer a soul?" And I'm like, I fucking love you, dude.
Dude,
I
that's
fucking
awesome.
love I love it.
That's fucking awesome, man. That's fucking awesome. I that's like when you have that kind of connection, dude, like it when something clicks like that, it just feels good. It just feels good. So speaking of clicking, I don't know how the fuck I made this connection, but that's my brain. So the company I work for, it's actually I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. The company I work for makes the shit. It took me 4 days. By the way, I was there training for 4 days before I knew what they did. That's
How
how
new is this? How new is this job?
uh, March.
Oh wow, new.
Yeah, new. Uh, I was there for 4 days. Like I had been told generally, oh, they're in the die making business. When I think die, I think die cast things, right?
Oh,
I think cars. So I'm like, oh, they make machinery or whatever, like whatever. I know like engines are die cast, shit like that, like that's what I'm thinking. And I'm doing trainings for 4 days. And then they like show a picture of a box like unfurled because I'd seen like the die boards with the steel laid out and shit, but I was like, I don't know what any of this shit means. I don't know what it does. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. But I was like, they're gonna tell me what to put in the system. I'm gonna put it in like a good worker drone, and I'm gonna go home and write books. That's where my mind was. And then day 4, they show a picture of a box, like a fucking Amazon box, just like not glued together, just open. And it just all clicked. And I was like, oh shit! Obviously. They use the board and they stamp out the fucking cardboard. Because the cardboard, they make a big sheet of cardboard. They just press this thing through and they make a box. And I was like, that's fucking, I never once thought about it, right? Never thought about how these boxes are made or anything like that. So then, the training goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And I finally start learning some like minutia and like the kinds of tear edge and all this other stuff. You know, like when you do the Kleenex and sometimes it doesn't come off right. That's like cheap tear edge. Like that's the like it's like I know shit now that can make me like righteously angry about dumb shit in my life, which is fucking great. So I get your box, which I'm super still appreciative of. Like I love it. First of all, I love the box, the design.
Do you know who did those, by the way?
Who?
FedEx.
Now I'm not even mad about what I'm about to say.
Go ahead. What you got?
So I open it. I go through all the shit. I'm sure you saw the video. And you know, I close it all out. I put stuff back, and I go to close it, and it you know, here's the end, and it like doesn't close all the way. And I was
Why
like,
not? The tabs?
No, just the top like doesn't fold down flat, like the close.
No.
See, like up there, it's like tilted forward because the thing doesn't close all the way. It's a dumb thing. It's not like a relevant thing at all. But because now I have new information in my brain, I was like, they used the wrong crease, sons of bitches.
Fuck, dude. I'm sorry. And you said your copy of the book was real dinged up too, right? I'll send you another one with it. I'll send you another box with this next campaign.
No, dude. I like the box is good. It's up there. I haven't touched it. It's not glued up there or anything. It's still staying up there.
Okay,
I'm not worried. But no, it's nothing. It was a super minor thing, dude. Like the most minor thing. But it's just because I have this new knowledge. Like I can be salty about dumb shit, but with like precise saltiness. I can't, you know, because it's like before when I would open up a fucking box of tissue, if it didn't open the right way and it left pieces on the box still, and you know I had to fucking pick them off bit by bit, I was just mad that it didn't work right. But now I know why it didn't work right, so now I'm like specifically mad.
That's what happens when you work in the kitchen. Now you know.
What do you mean?
What? Huh? When you work in the kitchen? Because if you see how your food prepared.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Another funny connection, not exactly like that, but that Deep Theory box that you got below it is why I made those boxes. Theirs was so good.
Good.
I really loved
Good. I love those guys, man. I love those guys.
I know. I messaged them the other day and I was like, when is your next shit? I'm looking forward for more. I want more.
Yeah, I check in with them regularly because it's up there. I love the artwork. The poster is still one of my favorite things because it had that like old advertisement feel to it. I really, really enjoyed it. Like, I love dumb little lore shit like that, like in universe, like those cards that you made, the ID cards. Dude, I geeked out for 2 fucking days about those. I was like, this is so fucking cool.
Those were like really the prototypes, and I have big dreams for that's going to go, but I don't know the next time I'm going to be able to pull that off. Those were really fun to make. They were really fun to make.
Dude, it was super cool. It's one of those things that like you could evolve it. It could be something. I mean, like you could make references to it. There's so many things. Like it's a little thing. It's a non-thing. Like there is an indie podcast. If you like audio content, it's an indie podcast. It's called Liberty Podcast. I met these guys at a convention. They were putting out a graphic novel. They were like right about to launch a Kickstarter, so they were there promoting this Kickstarter. And they're like, "Yeah, we've been doing this podcast for a couple years." And I think at that time when I'm thinking podcast, I'm thinking this, right? People talking. I was like, cool, whatever. I'll check out the podcast. No. He should have said radio drama. Like, this is full production. This is sound effects. This is characters, multiple voice actors. I'm like, I listened to the first episode. I was fucking in. I was so deep in. I listened. There was 3 seasons of that original, which I think is Critical Research. Then they did like 2 seasons of, they like made a tabletop game. They made a RPG. And they played the RPG but in character, so it was interesting. Like it was a really interesting, like somewhat scripted, somewhat not scripted thing. Like it was super interesting to listen to. And then they also did a horror series within that universe called Dark Tower, which like within this like very sci-fi futuristic thing, like there's these like creepy and super dark fucking stories. dude, I consumed it all like voraciously. And
How did they get away with calling it Dark Tower? Stephen King's not got that shit on lock.
I think it was just The Dark Tower. Maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly. I think it's called The Dark Tower, but it's like Liberty Podcast, The Dark Tower. And yeah, it's man, it's a great universe. But the reason I bring that up, what was the reason I brought that up? Fucking man, I'm all over the place.
What are you talking about? We started with Deep Theory. Where'd we go?
Man, completely lost it.
Hate that.
Regardless,
Hate it
but
when
like, I don't know, whatever. But Deep Theory is good shit. Deep Theory is good shit. Zach and Vish, man, they were. I think they were the first or second people I had on the podcast when I relaunched it,
Really?
or maybe even before. Really, like, I love the universe. It's just. I'm such a, like, the indie space is so fucking big. There's a new, I would say there's a new comic shop. There's a comic shop that changed owners and has been rebranded a couple towns over. And I made the pilgrimage there Saturday, which is where these are from. And I was there and I was like, hey guys, so like, you guys gonna do any indie stuff here? And I'm starting to pitch, like, I'm selling out here for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm out here selling. I was like, you need to bring in, here's what you need to bring in. He's like, oh, this is my guy. He's going to be my buyer. Talk to him. So I'm like, I'm going to be sending him a list and be like, hey, these are the books you need to bring in. So it was just one of those things. Like, I love seeing the indie space because, like, I'm an X-Men fan till I die. I will read Avengers probably forever. Justice League fucking probably forever. But, like, reading cool, interesting shit. Because, like, you know what I'm tired of? Dark Superman stories. There's a dozen of those out there. Like, oh, what if Superman turned evil? Yeah, we've done that. We've done that so many times, so many ways. It's kind of stale for me. Like, I understand people still enjoy it. People still lose their minds over Homelander. I thought it was fucking hilarious that it took 3 seasons for people to be like, wait, he's the bad guy? Like, you guys are fucking idiots. But like, then, you know, but like, I like Superman to be hopeful. That's why, like, Lois, or Superman and Lois, great fucking show. Like, truly good, hopeful Superman. And I was like, this is what was missing in the fucking movies. Like, if they get, now that he's back, if they give him that, all day, every day.
Nice.
Like, that'll be, if they give him hopeful, good, like, Superman, not this, like, oh, I don't know who I am, and maybe you should have let him die. And I was like, the whole premise of Superman is that he was raised with, like, good, positive morals. Pa Kent should not have been like, maybe you should have let those kids die. That fucking pissed me off. Maybe you should, I don't know, maybe you should have let them die. I was like, no. And it's funny because it's like, you know, they made a big deal about, like, oh, don't save me from this fucking tornado. And I was like, in Smallville, he saved everybody from every tornado, and he didn't get found out not once. Stop it. like Smallville and Superman and Lois are probably the 2 best representations of Superman in media, besides the animated stuff, because that show was, the 90s animated show was incredible. But like,
All those shows were.
yeah, but like, seeing like regular superhero shit is cool, but like, Marvel and DC, for the most part, do not do non-superhero shit great. And seeing, because like, they did like a cyborg kind of future thing with during the New 52, it was meh. And I love robots and shit. I love cyborg shit. I love dark future shit. And it was really meh. Like, it was really, truly disappointing for what it was. Like, granted, the New 52 overall was a whole thing that we could talk about another time. But like, I want to, like Regenesis is a great approach to something that, like, it's not superheroes, it's not like, but it's not just a Western, it's not just any one thing. And I think, honestly, like, I'm not trying to fucking blow smoke here, but I think honestly it's kind of the best of all what it is. Like it's the best out of Western stuff. Like it's the most interesting stuff for me, at least. You know, it's the best like things that I like in Westerns. It's the best kind of shit that I like in sci-fi. Like sci-fi is cool when it's like Star Trek and, you know, big fucking space fights and shit. But sci-fi is great when it's like dissected a little bit and we kind of get into some nitty gritty. Like what was that movie? Deus Ex Machina. Or was it just Deus Ex or whatever? Like great fucking, or Ex Machina, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Great fucking movie, but it was just like, it took place in one fucking building. There was no space fight, but there was like some fucking, what is life? What is consciousness? What is a soul? Like all that shit is really fucking interesting. And
Well, I'm glad you put us in the same line because I mean, I really appreciate that. I appreciate that because I feel guilty sometimes cherry picking. Like I really did just like take all my favorite shit and like I'm glad some of that came through.
but
To
that's
go
but
back a second, because I was about to say, when you were talking about, actually, there's a few times when I was about to say this. My favorite negative reaction is when people see the marshal killing people, and I worked very, very intentionally to make you want her to be a hero, and you are going to forget that she is not heroic a lot of times. Like you, because she's the protagonist, you're watching her and you expect her to be good. But then she does that shit that's not good and it upsets people, and that makes me so happy. I love the fact that people are pissed off that the protagonist is not doing the right thing. It should piss you off. And
I'll be honest, when that in that first, like right when she gets the arm and she smashes that motherfucker's head in the wall, I was like, what the fuck?
what the fuck?
Like what? Why? Like I mean, like he's kind of he's a jerk, right? But like, did he deserve to get smashed in a wall? Like
Oh,
that's
he
a
didn't-
little.
he didn't deserve that shit.
It's a little harsh, man. Like but I was like, I mean, she's the law, and then she walks
No.
in. And a spoiler
What's the
alert
next thing
here.
she does? She goes and murders people.
Dude, she walks in that, and the way I read it, and like, you know, correct me if I'm misreading it here. But the way I read it is, she walked into that space, judge and juried the whole fucking shit in 30 seconds without a word spoken, and said, no, this is against the law, and executionered.
Exactly right.
And that
She's Judge Dredd.
and I was like, this is it's super interesting because it's like, there's a lot of stories about like, oh, does, you know, no one person deserves all that power, right? But like, how do you enforce these laws, especially when people are going to such lengths to break them and you know, like subvert the status quo that is trying to be maintained? And that's the other thing is like, do you want to be on the side of the status quo? Because like, you know, in our real world, the status quo is not a great thing for a lot of people. So like, it stirs up some emotions inside of you, and I think that's very interesting.
I love that you said that. Yeah, I mean, I overthink all of my media intake. Like whenever I watch things, I'm like, what is the character thinking? What is the audience thinking? And what is the writer thinking? And here I try very, very hard to make you go and make the normal assumptions, like the government is not great. The people are probably good people, and the hero is probably a good person too. And you are usually going to be right, but the way that the way I progress the narrative is by having the characters do things that feel wrong. You get there and you're like, no, that's not right. No, that's not no. And you know, sorry guys, that's what's happening. It doesn't feel right because it's not. And it's what's happening anyway. I like my series a lot.
But that's good. Like that's a good sign, right? It's not just, oh, I'm writing it because like I mean, I'll say his name. I don't think he gives a shit. But like Fabian Nicieza, which I am so fairly confident that's how you say his name. But like I've asked him specifically, directly, and I've talked about it on podcasts here. I have asked him directly about certain stories, especially from like the mid to late 90s. Like, hey, you wrote this, like the way, because like specifically like the Joseph story, the clone of Magneto, like how that all ended, like super dissatisfactory for pretty much everybody that read it. And I was like, so I flat out asked him, I flipped through my book and I was like, oh no shit, like I'm friends with him on Facebook. Like, I'm just gonna ask this dude, hey, did you come up with this fucking clone explanation, or was it like an editorial thing? And all he said was, I had nothing to do with that story, which to me tells a lot, right? A lot. That is a here is the thing we want you to tell, put some words in it. That is a very much like, and I do remember that the 90s were kind of rife with, they put a creative team on there, and then editorial gets in there. And I remember that being a big thing. I mean, that's why the Clone Saga in Spider-Man became such a huge, huge thing, because they just were trying to compete with the X-Men line. So it was just like, no, keep it going, because whatever. So it was like they made these, they planned out a certain line of plot, and then the editorial would be like, no, this needs to keep going because it's selling books. So then they would just like dump the entire plot line, because at one point Peter Parker was the clone and he had a degenerative clone disease, and then all of a sudden he wasn't the clone again, and everyone was like, what the fuck? Like, I remember reading that era being like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, how is he not the clone? Like 2 fucking months ago, he had a degenerative clone disease. His cells were breaking down on a molecular level. This is what you told us. Like, so, seeing, like, talking to people that have written stuff that they don't enjoy, you could see it in the final product. Like, I remember reading the Magneto War for the first time and being like, the things that were the best out of Magneto War were the things that had nothing to do with Joseph and his relationship to Magneto. It was everything else. Like, I will give it to him. He built up the like best parts of it, and we kind of just dealt with the fact that, probably editorial was like, he's a clone, figure it out. Like,
it's heartbreaking sometimes. Like, you have such brilliant storytellers and you have such a beautiful vehicle, and business just gets in the way too many times.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And it's, it's one of those things where it's like down the line, and it's not like it's unprecedented, certain decisions are like, somebody in the X-Men editorial team being like, yeah, so like the way we're going to resolve this is he's a clone. There's like 4 or 5 clones floating around the X-Men characters. We get it. Like, there's clones. Like, it's not new, but at the same time, like, at some point it's the same shit. And like telling the 5th, 6th, 17th fucking writer to be like, write this person as a clone, as opposed to just like, hey, why don't you come up with an interesting way to close this or make this character happen? Like that. And you see it when people get to write the kind of characters they want to write, the kind of characters that's interesting, even in major productions. The new writer of New Mutants is trans and is writing a trans character, and the new issues show that there is fun being had with these characters, that there is an enjoyment in the art, in the process of the writing. So like when you let people write the shit they want to write, you're going to get better products. Cause anybody else, like I do not have a trans lived experience, but me writing a trans character could very well come off super, what's the fucking word where it's like,
Disingenuous?
Like, yeah, disingenuous. Like where I'm just like doing shit to please people, right? Just like I'm just gonna write what I think they want to read. Like, yep. I have no concept of what this means to people, so I'm just gonna write it. But like, that could easily happen. But when you put someone who knows the material and knows the and honestly, I don't know. This is why I'm like hesitant to judge this book, because like the Shaman's Tears, it was a great read, but at the same time, it was the 90s. The era of writing was different, but I don't know if Mike Grell is native, and it's like some of the things in there. Now, I also don't know a lot of native people, so I don't know if it is like appropriating. I don't know if it is misrepresenting, but from other things and other media that I've consumed, it does seem to be kind of delving into some tropes. And I'm like, is this some white dude who just like wanted to write a Native American character? And when the honesty is not there, when the lived experience is not there, it's honestly, it's like when white people try to write like Black struggle. it just, you don't know it, so you can't write it well. Like, you can't write it honestly. And I think that's what a lot of, you're saying you took the best parts of the shit you like, and that's what you made your world with. And it shows. Like, it's a well-crafted book. Like, the shit, like, when she went down on the bike, I was like, that's a dope fucking bike. This is really cool. And it's like a little detail, but it's like, could you sit there and be like, well, that looks like Batman's bike from the fucking Dark Knight? But yeah, but like, if you like that bike, or like if you like Akira, like, which it very much looks like the Akira bike, but it's like, if you like Akira, what the fuck am I going to tell you? Like, that's a cool bike. That's always been a cool bike for 40 years. Who's going to tell you it's not? Like,
appropriation is a major theme in this. So like they really haven't gotten to be much in the comics yet. It's only like 2 pages, but like I am not going to try to write what it's like to live in a semi-nomadic tribe, because I've never lived in a semi-nomadic tribe. But what I can write is how the government views them. Like, I am very consciously playing into stereotypes, and the government wants these people to live a certain way, and they are very much poster children for their global project. Like, Earth is a reservation for the way life used to be. Like, this is literally, they're the poster children of the planet. They're supposed to be revered. You're supposed to hold them on the highest pedestal. And hopefully, because what I can write are individual characters, and so hopefully what will happen is you'll realize that you have to look through, if you only look at the stereotype of the stereotype's not the right word, but like this cookie cutter image of these like tribal communities, you're gonna miss the individuals. I'm trying to make a very personal family story about what happens to Rhodes. Rhodes is going through a lot of personal shit, and his identity within his tribe really fucks with him. He doesn't get to feel like he is part of that community because he's going through his own personal shit. And that divorce is like, I can write that because I have strife with my community, and I lean into the character so that you can see that there is the dissonance between all the different communities. And then the little people too. Like, I am much more worried about offending somebody there, because they're migrant laborers. That's very much a depiction of how we treat illegal people here, because there's no such thing as an illegal person. They're just undocumented.
I think
I don't
borders
wanna
are
write
bullshit. So
I don't want to write their stories either, but I do want to depict the way that the government treats them, and that's what I do. And at one point somebody calls them Oompa Loompas, and they're really offended by that, because that's like the ultimate insult. They're born and they live their lives, and they don't have to like work in a specific factory, but they also don't have any other options. They are fucking slaves. They have no options but to work for the man, and it sucks. And they get murdered by the marshal, and like nothing good happens to them. But then you meet the characters, and you're like, oh damn, these are real people who are actually slaves. And I'm not gonna say what it's like to be an indentured servant, because they're not slaves, they're indentured servants. But like, it's just as bad.
right, yeah, and you're taking care with all that, and that's the important part. Is like, a lot of people would not, and we've seen it countless times where people just throw, like, it's for the buzzwords, they throw it in for the, oh well, this person is this, that, or the other thing, or this person went through this, that, or the other thing. Like, I as much as I am an immigrant, I could never write the story of like an Italian American immigrant in the early 20s, late 1800s. Like, I couldn't. I don't have that cultural knowledge. I don't have that. But like, if you want me to write, if I was to write a story about a Balkan immigrant in the early 90s, early 2000s, yeah, I have that lived experience. It's gonna be very hard for me to fuck that up, honestly. Like, it's gonna be real hard for me to fuck that up, because it's like, I can just draw on literal personal experience, like the things that I went through, the things my family went through. So it's like, we all have our own unique perspectives, and that's like in the current issue of Catalyst that I'm hoping to put out probably tomorrow. I'm putting together. Well, I've written it, but my little editorial is very much that you as an individual are the most important thing right now in storytelling, because a lot of people already do have these like content farms on YouTube. They have these content farms on blogs where it's just like bullshit content just to get you to see ads, bullshit content just to get you to watch 3 to 5 minutes of shit, 5 minute crafts, that kind of shit, bullshit stories told, like written by an algorithm or stolen from Reddit or whatever. All this shit is happening already. So like AI art, AI books, AI, all this shit is going to happen regardless of what happens. The thing that's going to make any individual creator different is their individual experience. My experience is different from my cousin's experience. We're from the same part of the world. We're from the same country. My experience and his experience is different. He came here when he was younger. His life is different than mine. I came here with one parent. He came here with two parents. Like, all of that matters. Like, we are very similar in many ways, but like his story and my story are still different. And that's the thing, is like, we are like as close as we are, and as close as in history as we are, we're still two unique people. And I think that's a lot of people forget to draw on their own shit. Like, there are people who, like yourself, you picked a lot of stuff that you like to put together, but like your likes and literally like your best friend definitely doesn't like exactly the same shit you like, Like, it's all, everyone has a unique perspective, and I think people are forgetting that in search of like pleasing the algorithm, in search of getting the most clicks, in search of what, like, I understand the need for those things, but like there has to be a balance of uniqueness. Because like, I personally, I would rather, if my book goes out and it doesn't fucking hit, it doesn't fucking hit. It sucks. Maybe my approach is wrong. Maybe my sales pitch is wrong. I will recalculate that. But I am in no way, like, I am not going to sit here and try to like keyword shit. And like, cause like I've been on YouTube for a long enough era that I remember looking up a song and it's not the right person. It's not the right song, and it's like the shit, like, keyword, like, all these like methods, like all these methods evolve over time, but they're all there always. Like, finding a way to get in front of people, I think the most organic way has been, for me as a consumer, somebody who 2 years ago didn't know 80% of the indie creators that I do now. Like 80% of the people that I fuck with now, people that I talk to on a regular basis, I didn't know they existed 2 years ago. And that happened organically. That happened with me participating in the community more and finding people. Like, I went to Virtuous Con earlier this year, and I regularly talked to 5 people that I met there, and I have purchased their products and I have shared their shit to other people. So like, all it took was for me to show up, participate, and you get exposed to more shit and you find more people. So like, algorithm chasing and all this other shit, like, unless you're paying for the ads, which obviously that's like the easy way, but if you're rich, shit is easy already. Like, rich people have shit easy already. Like, if you got money to blow, you got $1,000, I'm gonna say probably $3,000 to $5,000 to spend on advertising on Facebook for the month of your campaign. Yeah, absolutely, you're gonna make money. But for those people, which is most of us, who don't, participating in the community. Like, I have bought novels that I didn't know existed 8 months ago because people said in Virtuous Con, people said in a chat, people said in a live, this is my book. This is what the book is about. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Or on a TikTok or whatever. Like, the content is there, the stories are there, and the community is there. And we don't have to submit to this fucking AI and the algorithm and all this shit. Like, we could just do us and participate in the community, and the shit kind of self-perpetuates.
100% with you on why that's why I love the indie community. I'm also a super backer on Kickstarter, unfortunately, through my bank account. Like, I love the art for that reason. I love what shines through from the creator to the projects. Like, I'm learning, like again, I really think about the audience, the author, and the characters all the time when I'm reading. but I have a fucking like I'm terrible at marketing and it shows. I mean, what I was trying to say is I hate marketing and it shows. The reason I suck at marketing is because I don't like it. I don't like talking to people on the internet. It's really hard for me. I'm socially awkward. I feel like we have a connection, so this has been very easy for me. But like normally, this shit is torture for me. Like I am not good at socializing. I like to stay at home, and if I could just write all day and like never see another person, I'd probably be very, very, very happy. But to go back a little bit, there's a double-edged sword about putting all of your personal shit into your work. The people who were beta reading my novel were my friends, and they were like, "You need to cut out a lot more of you to let your characters go out and do their own
For
thing."
sure, for sure.
Like,
Yeah, there's a balance
you
that
know,
needs to be found.
the characters are all very much me, especially the villains. Like I put all of my dark shit into there, and then there's like a bunch of traumatic shit that happened. Like my grandfather's a Holocaust survivor, and that is very much in the book. And a bunch of bad shit has happened that is like, if you know me, it's going to be much more obvious. If you don't know me, I hope that it feels organic and it feels like, it feels like it's happening to the characters because I really, really wanted it to. But yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say.
No, and I feel you on that. That's something where when I was writing this book, like as these, like when I went into it, issue 1 of the magazine, I was like, I need to write this chapter. Let me write this chapter and like figure out what's going on. I sat down and my whole premise, everything that I knew about the story was this dude, I didn't know his name yet, was going to find this information and somehow he was going to get to these documents that I hope to feature in the hardcover collection of the comic at some point. So like that is all I had. And I sat down and I always like to say this story wrote itself. I was just the fucking vehicle. Like these characters and all the shit that came out. So like for me, it was hard to just kind of like not go off and explore all these characters because I didn't start with like, this is my self-insert. Like I take little bits, like I like the little bits, like the woman on the airplane. She's a small business owner. Like I'm a small business owner, so like I have that little bit to kind of celebrating small victory. She's on this trip because her business is doing well, so her family bought her a vacation, and I like that's like celebrating small victories as a small business. That's a huge like I know that feeling. I can relate to. I can put a little bit of that in there. Like But like, I'm not a fucking secret agent. I don't know a lot of military people. So a lot of the shit I have to research. I've never been to fucking Brazil. Spent like 2 days researching the layout of Brazil and like spending a lot of time talking about that and where this guy is and all the shit.
I should read it before I say this, but did you think about killing her instead of making her a full character?
No, I didn't. I thought about just scaling her back to just being nobody. I really wanted her to be the one pure person, but then I was like, the sales pitch is that there are no good people in this world. Nice. And like, so I'm like, fine, like, let me like figure out a thing. And I don't even know how I got to it, but it was one of those things where I had this scene where the guy has this epiphany, ironically. And I had him originally just like at the park. And I was like, I could move that, I could move that to a different location and it could be her fucking pastry shop. And, and I was like, maybe she says something in passing that sparks his mind to go into what like his next step. And I was like, I could do that.
Fun.
And I was like, that's cool. And then as soon as that came to mind, and I was like, what if she said it on purpose? What if she knew what he needed to do because she knows what he's doing? She knows what he's been doing this whole time. And I was like, now she is, and I came up with this whole new character, and it just
that's where you're going.
It's this whole. It becomes this whole thing where it's like I don't dive into it, but now I've laid this piece, this chess piece on the board that I could always come back to. And then in my almost right before I went to my editor, like I paid for editing. Right before I went to the editor, I added an epilogue that I hadn't planned on. Another one of those things where I was like, I hadn't planned on it, but I brought it to the present day, recent present day, and basically I have an unnamed government dude shows up, finds our main dude and says, I need a team. And he's like, why would you think that I have anything to do with anything? And he's like, don't fuck with me. A lot of rumblings going on east. I'm not trying to fucking deal with this in 6 months. So here's $10 million on the fucking floor. I'm going to have $10 million for you when the job's done. I don't want to have to hear the name Putin ever again. And walks away. Just walks away. And and I was like, because that was one of those things when the whole shit started in Ukraine. I was like, what? I'm like, we have dudes. Like, we could just send some dudes. Why don't we send some dudes? Like, just stop this whole bullshit. And I was like, but I can write it. Like, if we're not gonna do it, I could certainly write it. So yeah, with that,
We can do that realistically. I think he's probably a pretty hard dude to kill.
I think we could do it. I think we could do it. We did
Really?
it. We did it with, well, especially in my world, we did it with Osama. Osama died less than a week after 9/11 happened, guaranteed. And then we played a big marketing dance for 11 years. That's my belief, because
Osama's a pretty hard target, but like Putin is a hard target. That
Yeah,
dude is fucking
yeah.
secure.
I mean, you would think so. But I just, especially because we already had a long fucking Cold War with them, that we don't have assets in the area or
Probably got somebody, you're right.
ways to get there. Just like, there's a guy on the payroll who he's just been living his life, gets a text message one day. All right.
Those are the most dangerous ones, the sleepers.
Yeah, that's like, it's not, it's a guy. That's funny too, because like somebody challenged me on Instagram to write a story about it, because somebody shared a photo, and I'm like a concept guy. I love creating shit. I've got, and I'm sure you do too, but like I've got sketchbooks and notebooks full of fucking half-baked ideas and scenes and concepts and all sorts of shit. And somebody shared a photo on Instagram of this like fucking jet that had been dug up from the ground. It was a buried jet. And I was like, there's a fucking story there. There's a story. Like why is this jet?
Where was it?
It was some village. Like, it was a small town. Like, there was no building taller than 2 stories in sight in this photo. And it's just, they
What
found
era jet?
late 80s.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Cold War era jet. And I was like, there's a story there, right? And
Yeah.
somebody just commented on my comment. They were like, write it. So I just wrote a fucking long ass like post, and it was just like a quick, like, you know what this says? I'm like, this was some sleeper agent. The plane crashed like right before the mission went off, and like they just set up shop in this small town where no one knew it. They moved in from overnight, and they just lived their life. And then at the end of their life, they hand the secret down to the children, the grandchildren, and they fucking dig up this jet that was just like from this forgotten era of war. Like, and I was like, that's something you could fucking go into. Like, you could expand on that. There's a story there. So it's just like, I love doing that shit. So yeah, if we can't guarantee that something happens, if we can't wish some shit to happen in the real world, I do love to live out some frustrations through fantasy, because it's like the world is a pretty fucked up place. Like, it's funny, somebody mentioned, I was watching a TikTok the other day, and they were like, all these time travel stories, everyone's like, oh, I would go back, I'd kill Hitler, or I'd kill Stalin or whatever. And what did she say? She said she would go back and I think it was kill Caesar. Was it Caesar? No, Constantine. She would go back and kill Constantine, because Constantine spread Christianity, because his wife's like freak pagan or hippie fucking religion that she just convinced him to convert, and then he convinced his entire fucking empire to convert, forced rather, and that's how we got the spread of Christianity. And I was like, that's an interesting point. I'm like, but what if you go even farther back?
Killing Christianity would definitely that would be a very broad change. You wouldn't even know what issues we were dealing with in the next however long.
Yeah. I mean, the domino chain would be insane. That's what I was saying. Like, I thought, like, what if you went even further back, and instead of, the first time, a man looks up to the skies and wonders why there's lightning and fire, instead of being, who's making that happen, saying, I wonder how it works. Just someone stands next to the first guy, first woman to look up and wonder, instead of being like, who's making that happen, just be like, I wonder how it works. And instead of making a fearful and superstitious species, we become a curious one seeking answers. And that's I think the worst thing to happen to planet Earth is humanity, and I think the worst thing to happen to humanity is religion, organized religion. I'm a believer in faith. I just when it comes down to,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Like, I feel like I need to explain it, but I also feel like people should get it. Like, it's not a complex thing that I'm saying.
I think a lot of people get there, and I definitely get there often. I have been trying more recently to be less of a misanthrope and think that, or appreciate the good things about humanity. Like, it's very easy to be like, oh, we suck because there's so many sucky things, but at the same time, fucking consciousness is really dope. Like, when in high school especially, I used to talk about how ignorance is bliss, and I like wish we could go back to the Garden of Eden and just be animals and fucking not have this. But art is fucking dope.
Art is
humans make a lot of fucking super dope art.
Very true.
Music is the fucking shit. We make a lot of cool shit, and the Garden of Eden would have been nice, but we got some cool shit going on, and fucking with Christianity is very, very tempting because, like, it's done some horrible things, but also, like, the core of Christianity is not bad. It just got fucking taken over by shitty people.
That's the thing, right? It's like I said, it's not so much the ideas necessarily. It is the execution, right? It's I mean, to bring it a little more modern, like, it's the idea that Twitter needs to be changed and that things need to change on Twitter is correct, and it's even good, positive, altruistically. But, like, the execution in Elon Musk's performance is not the way to do it, so, like, it's not
what the fuck is going on there.
Dude, it's wild. It is wild. A bunch of coders on TikTok are saying that they're literally just running, like, a fucking live build. Like, it's not even a finished program on the site right now. It's just like a working build, which is an insane idea. Like, for the little bit of coding that I've done, that is wild to me. Like, I was on my company's website one day, and they went live with a page or edited a page while it was live and didn't test it, because I tried to check something and it was like it just wasn't there, and I was like, why would you edit that live or, like, during business hours? Like, it just blew me away. But it's like little shit like that. So, like, if Musk is just like, change everything, I understand that you'd want to do that, but it's still crazy. Like, I can't imagine. Like, I am so thankful that at least the algorithm on the comic side of Twitter is working, because I don't see most of it. The only thing I see is Musk, because he pushes his tweets to everybody. That's the only tweet I see that has anything to do with Musk or what's going on. Everything else is comics, like publishing. Like, that's what I'm seeing, and I'm super glad that that's still working the way it's supposed to.
I do resent myself for not being better at social media, but at the same time, sometimes I'm glad I can't stand that shit because I'm not exposed to it. I have to read about it after the fact.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
news. I wasn't even on Twitter that heavy until I started doing more promotion and like finding more people who write and stuff, because a lot of people use it. A lot of people share their stuff there. So that's just
Necessary.
that's how I find. Yeah, it's a necessary tool. But it's funny because it's, you know, as much as he's just steamrolling over the whole concept, I also think he is still fulfilling his role as an agent of chaos and change in society, because he did that with Tesla. Like, he came out and just fucking said, "Here, bitches, it's all electric.
My way."
It's hot. It's hot. You should buy it." And then a bunch of people bought it. And then, you know, once he started moving units, all the other companies started making shit. And now you can go to Ford and buy, or Chevy, and buy a fucking $35,000 all electric vehicle, which is an insane. It's an insane idea, but like, that wasn't going to happen without someone making electric cars sexy. And
I'm a huge fan of SpaceX too, and I don't appreciate Bezos's entrance into the race.
We would not be going to. I will say this on record: we would not be going to the moon right now if it wasn't for Elon Musk.
My stepdad is what's it called? He works for the Applied Physics Lab, so he's like not working for NASA, but like he's in the business.
He's there.
It's doing great fucking things.
Yeah,
it's like that kind of competition is exactly what the government needed. If you don't have competition, you're not going to go nowhere.
It's funny because that's the exact plot line. It blew my mind when I saw that they were doing, was it the Artemis? When they're like, "Oh, we're going to go build a moon base." I was like, I'm watching this show. I'm on season 3, because For All Mankind is exactly that. The premise of For All Mankind is Soviet Russia gets to the moon before us. By 2 weeks, that's it. By 2 weeks, America loses. We don't like losing, and then it becomes a contest. Then we're just constantly trying to one-up each other. And I think like in season 2, by 1994, they have 2 functional moon bases where people live. And I was like, that's what would have happened. But we got there first. We pissed on the ground. We planted our flag. Ours, bitches. And we left. We had nothing else to prove. We did it first. We did it best. No one else can do it better than us.
That's one of the other series that I'm really mad at myself. Like, I seriously do not watch anything right now. I go from work to work, and I work all the time. That, and is it called Periphery? With, it's about, I actually don't even know.
Peripheral. Chloe Grace Moretz?
Those two are the ones.
It's like
aside from the
future time jump thing. The trailer is so good that I don't understand the concept yet, but it's very interesting.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Like I like a trailer that makes me want to see a thing, but doesn't tell me what the whole thing is.
Exactly right.
Like there was a recent trailer that did that, and man, I forget what it was. It was something that like I thought it showed a ton. And then I got to the movie and I was like, we're only 30 minutes in and I've seen everything that was in the trailer. I have no fucking clue where we're going. This is awesome.
That's a nice surprise.
Like, it was fucking great.
The last time that happened to me was fucking Fight Club. Had no idea what I was getting into.
It's such an old movie, and I know the premise, so like I don't even think I would enjoy it at this point. I genuinely don't think I would enjoy it.
I was so fucked up on adrenaline when I got out of that movie that I ran like 3 miles home, and I fucking loved that movie. It blew my mind at the time. I was like 19 years old, 18 years old.
Interesting. I don't know. It's one of those like I kind of still want to watch it, but it's like that is such.
You've never seen it?
I've never seen it. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't think I would enjoy it because I know the twist, right? I know like it's like telling someone to watch Memento if they know what happens in Memento. Although Memento
pretty good.
Although Memento is still kind of a twist after twist after twist, so it's not just one thing that you find out. So it's like I'm trying to think what another movie that like has like a serious twist is.
Forget that you know the twist. I mean, you don't have to forget that you know the twist of Fight Club. You should watch it. You're gonna like it. That's Fincher, right? That shit is fucking really good.
Yeah, it's Fincher. I'm interested.
It's real good.
So I wanted to touch on something that I actually watched. You say you like watching the news. I was watching Philip DeFranco right before while I was eating my dinner right before we got on. And he started talking about Magic the Gathering. And I thought it was funny because last night I was at a store and I saw they had a Magic the Gathering thing, and it had like a Transformers Magic the Gathering card in it, and I'd forgotten that they were like
What?
they're doing some weird crossover because Hasbro owns all that shit now.
I
So
knew that, but I didn't know that there was a crossover.
yeah, they're doing
Is
like a
it cool?
crossover. I think it's like a few cards, and I was like, oh, I wonder how much this is, and we checked the price, and it was a box, and I think it had one deck, and I think 3 packs, and the like special crossover card.
Is it a big, beautiful box?
No. So how much
Little
do you
bit.
think? How much do you think that should be? It's not beautiful. It's just the retail box. So it's not like a fancy box at all. It's just a regular retail box. I think it was.
Are they limited?
I'm pretty sure it was no.
I don't know. I'm just gonna get 60 because I want to.
It's $50. And I was like,
Yeah.
50
Oh.
fucking dollars. I was like, it's not even 2 decks. Like 2 decks. You could
I'm
say
not that surprised.
you
but
could say
that's-
$30 for 2 decks. I'd be like, all right, $30 for 2 decks. That feels okay. But like 50, and it's 1 deck, and I think it was 3 packs and like the Transformers card. And I was just like, that's fucking too much. And then I'm watching Philip DeFranco today, and apparently this is an ongoing trend. Because I did notice last night, before I ever saw this story, I did notice, I was like, man, there's like a lot of different sets. Usually, like from what I remember, there is like that year's Magic set, right? It was Zendikar, it was, whatever. You had your year, like that year's set, whatever it was, right? That was the theme for the year. Like there was a
I used
Planeswalker
to-
year. There was all sorts of like
I do remember that.
so like Planeswalkers was like 1 year of cards. Like that's what came out that year. Or whatever that, quarter or whatever the fuck it was. Like there was a number of a period of time where it was like that was the one new thing. And I was like, there's like 6 or 7 different fucking sets that I'm looking at. And that's like before that was impossible because the previous sets would all get bought out because like people want the cards. So like I was just like, wow, there's like a lot of Magic here. I'm like, maybe people just aren't buying as much Magic, right? I don't fucking know. I buy a pack here and there, or if something just like really strikes me, maybe I'll buy like a deck. But like I don't have anyone to play with. I have a ton of cards. I enjoy the game immensely, but I don't have anyone to play with, so like I don't buy that much. So I'm not really like deep into it. So then I watched the fucking episode of DeFranco today, and it's a whole thing that apparently they have put out 48 new products this year. 48 new products just this year. Apparently it's like almost double what they put out last year entirely. And that like the whole
Weird.
fandom is going crazy. People are pissed. Everything's gone up in price. How much did you used to buy a pack of Magic the Gathering cards for? Or if you like, have you seen it like that? What it,
So long ago. I literally haven't played in
the last time
maybe
I
20
bought a
years now.
set was I believe it was like $450, which to me was a understandable escalation because about 10 years ago it was like $320 or whatever,
that doesn't sound
$350 like at the comic shop. I was like, okay, that's fine. This was $7.
What
$7
$7 though? Is it?
It's just a
not
regular.
Transformer
It's just a
special?
regular pack of cards. Yeah, they have these art series cards now, which is cool. Like that's fine, whatever. But like, it's just a regular pack. There's nothing incredibly fancy. Oh yeah, you know what? I got two chromes. That's about it. And it's
nice.
like that's cool, but it's like, why is it double the price? And it's like it's the same amount of cards. It's not like it's more cards. It's not harder to print them. Like you've got the fucking art, the infrastructure for making this shit decades deep. It's crazy to me that the price has gone up this far. They apparently put out a 30th anniversary set. It was like, I don't think it was a deck, but it was like a bunch of cards, and they were reprints of like apparently, and I didn't know this, but apparently Wizards had a long-standing rule that they would never reprint cards. These were reprints of like some of the favorite cards, including, and I'm sure you know this one, the Black Lotus.
Black Lotus and the Colossus of Sardia.
I didn't see that one in the video, but I know they did the Black Lotus. But they like redid the card, so like it looks different. It doesn't look like the original card. So like that's how they got around their own rule of not reprinting. But you also can't use them in game. Okay, so it's the set. I think
Yeah,
I think it's like a 30
I was gonna
card
say,
set.
I remember it's got to be late '90s that they did the antiquities thing. They did reprint shit.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
It had a little anvil. It had a little anvil for the little season marker.
Oh, that's funny. I do remember that. I've seen those cards.
And
I know I might even have some of those cards.
you weren't supposed to. Yeah, you weren't supposed to play with those either.
And so that's the thing, right? It's this. I think it's like 30 card set, and they're not playable in most game types. And it's billed as this anniversary thing. And they sold it, where they were trying to sell it, and I don't think it worked, for $1,000 $1,000 for basically fake, like for novelty cards.
Collector's cards.
Collectors, yeah, but it's like collector's cards, but like of that potentially. I don't want to say they will devalue the originals,
Devalue the real ones.
but like potentially
Well, they
devalue
do.
the real ones. So like you're fucking people on both ends of this spectrum,
Yep.
and apparently it was such a big fucking thing that. Like the big names in the Magic space, like YouTubers and stuff, were basically like, "Do not fucking buy this set. Like if you
Good.
don't vote with your fucking wallet here, they are never gonna stop this bullshit."
Well, they're not going to stop anyway, but
Well, right. Well, I mean, like, but they might change their tactics at least, and maybe release less shit.
if you had
or
like
something.
if you had a really effective boycott, but it's not gonna.
Well,
they're too
apparently
Too
they,
big to
they
fail.
put it out and made it unavailable in like less than 30 minutes.
big. How many did they sell?
Well, I think this is
know.
the belief anyway in the community. Apparently, that it seems like they cut it to make it seem more successful than it was being. Because I mean, they're not
I
gonna.
bet
They're
you they
never.
got 'em.
They're never gonna tell. They're never gonna tell.
I bet you they got a lot of minute one sells. I bet you they sold a ton.
I
And
mean,
back
maybe.
to back to the
maybe.
pack prices. Back to the pack prices. That is not that surprising a strategy. The $7 a pack is surprising if it's just a normal pack. It would not be surprising if it had a Transformer card in it. Like
No, and that's the
licensing
thing.
shit
Like the
that,
Transformers card, but it's
people
not
that eat
licensing.
that
But it's not
up.
licensing. It's their own property. It's all their own property.
Yeah, but from the fans' perspective, you're seeing a crossover. You're like, oh, dude, Transformers and Magic. That's fucking,
Yeah, but it's
that's
like
a big
they
sell.
made. I think they made like less than 20 cards. I mean, I think maybe even less than 10. Like they didn't put a lot of effort into this. Is my point. Like this isn't something where they built a whole new game mode or something. It was just a cash grab. And I get it. Like
Yeah.
I was interested, but the first price that I saw for anything revolving this was something in like the $30 range, and I was like, I'm not interested in spending $30 for like one card because like I've got a bunch of Magic cards. I wouldn't be benefiting from having more Magic cards because I'm not playing regularly. So like the one card that I do want out of this, which God knows if I get the Optimus Prime, like how many times would I have to buy $30 to get an Optimus Prime?
Did you play the online one?
Yeah, I still do occasionally.
Yeah,
like the
you still
Magic
do?
Arena, yeah. I enjoy it. There are a couple game modes that I really like. But there's a game mode in fucking Hearthstone that I think is unsurpassed, and I just keep going back to that because it's kind of it's an interesting game mode. Like I don't have to sit there and build the deck. I enjoy building the decks in Magic. That's kind of like part of the big mechanic for me.
Really fun.
Like I still have a sliver deck that to this day I will fucking decimate with. Even
never
though
been very
slivers
good.
are not legal anymore, but like I will play a what do they call them now? Archives game or something like that. I forget. They have a term for it.
I've never been very good, and I've never been in like a competition or anything. But I used to be very proud of my rat deck. I had a very cool rat deck.
Okay.
barely legal because I was pushing that 4-card repeat whatever rule is. But another semi tangent. Are you familiar with HeroScape at all?
I
And did you see that they're bringing that back too?
I know it, but why can't I?
It was
I know the term. I know the name for sure. I just for some
It's like-
reason my brain is not connecting.
It is a D&D light, like boxed board game version. The
Oh, okay.
great thing about it is has modular terrain, and the modular terrain is incredibly fun to build, and you can just play a very quick combat exclusive RPG tabletop RPG experience.
Okay.
And it was very consumer friendly. Has a very cool dice pool system. It's really fun, but they killed it. It was Hasbro,
Of course it
and
was.
now Wizards of the Coast is bringing it back, or whatever. What's the one that I'm supposed to, not Wizards of the Coast?
Wizards is owned by Hasbro now.
Okay, is there another? It was like Avalon Hill. Is that a thing?
Maybe. Let me see.
Somewhere in that conglomerate, they're re-releasing.
It is Hasbro. It's on Hasbro Pulse, Age of Annihilation Vanguard Edition.
Yeah, and I am fucking so stoked. That's also like the dice pool system that they use.
Oh, that's why I know it. They did a
RPG.
Marvel thing. They did a Marvel thing like
yeah, and it's really good. They're way overpowered, but it was really fun to Hulk smash people.
Interesting. Okay. Because as I remember seeing the ads in the comics.
Every time Hulk gets a wound marker, he gets an extra attack die.
Jeez. Jeez. Okay. The insanity of that, I know what that means, even though I have never played this fucking game, is insane. Yeah. That is so wild.
He does get an attack debuff every time he leaps. If you want to move a certain amount of distance, you have to take a few of those die off, but you still Hulk smash people, one-shotting people all over the place.
Jeez, that's wild, man. That is crazy.
Yeah,
that's
it's a fun
crazy.
Game.
Man, but that's the cool. It's like I'm glad they're coming back with that. But like, dude, the board game space is another fucking interesting space because I didn't even know that people were just out here making board games like that. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of it. Like, I know people that make board games, but like the last time I ever talked with them about it was like they had to go through some sort of like approval process, and there's a whole thing. There's a lot of testing and all this stuff. And I was like, man, that sounds like a lot of work, like to get the shit done. But then like I kept seeing more like various different types of tabletop or board games, and I'm just like, damn, like how do these people have the time? Because like, all I have to know, all the only information I have to go on is what I talk to them, and it's like, it's this like multi-months process just to like get an approval, and then you still have to make the thing happen. And it's like, I'm like, how do these, like, I'm like, it almost seemed like every other fucking week there was a new board game or a new fucking tabletop. And I was like, how are these motherfuckers, where do they have the time to do all this shit?
Well, there's money in it is why people have the time.
For sure.
And like,
for sure.
That's probably, I love what it does for comics too, but that's probably the medium that I think has benefited the most from Kickstarter, fucking board games. There's so many board games that would not exist without Kickstarter.
I can see that. I can see that.
Fucking love it.
There's I did a brief conversation with the owner of, what's it called? They're like an indie like board game and card game publisher. Like a tabletop, like all like an indie publisher for board games and tabletops and stuff. I forget what it's called, but like I know you were saying you were working on a board game. I don't know if you already have like the distribution and publishing aspect of that lined up, but so maybe off air here, I'll get you the info in case.
Yes, please. I also need, where I'm really stuck right now is writing the rules. Like I am very good at statistics and things like that, but I just don't have the experience to write the rule book. I need a pro.
Right. And the guy I talked to, he I think he made like 2 or 3 already. So he's
hook me up.
Yeah. I've got it on video, so it's not something that I gotta like research deeply. I've got his info on video. So yeah, no, that's that like right there, that moment. This is what my ultimate like world domination like moment is. Like, that's what I would want to be. I want to be the guy that somebody walks in, says, hey, I need to get this done. I got a guy for that. Make a phone call, send a text. Hey, come handle this. Like, I want to be the guy who knows all the people. Like, when somebody says, I know a guy, I want to be that guy, so that, because I have all the other guys.
I would like to know you. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy in the basement writing who talks to you to get all my shit done.
And I'm happy to be that guy. I am I want to be the mover and the shaker. Like I'm happy to make those calls and have those discussions, and if necessary, beat down those doors. We never did shit on your fucking publisher.
The printer.
Yeah, the printer.
one?
That's what I'm at. Yeah, the printer.
Yeah,
We
dude,
never
I'm still real mad at them.
we never did that. That was
It sucks because
is this still like up in the air? Like they're still not like they're not going to give you any money back, are they?
No, definitely not. They didn't respond. I filed a Better Business Bureau complaint and everything. They didn't even respond.
Jesus.
And it
Christ,
sucks
man.
because I never did shit on them specifically because I was talking with, I'm not going to say that person's name.
Sure.
It's a pretty reputable creator who is like buddies with the guy that fucked me over.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is unfortunate, man.
And he was like, no, he would never do that. And I was like, dude, look at these emails. He was like, sorry, he did that. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna I had to file a Better Business Bureau complaint because like I was so fucking angry, but
That's
just
crazy,
gotta let shit
man.
go.
The
I
fact
got too much shit on my plate.
yeah, well, because you were saying like you were supposed to get a certain card stock, like because I do remember, yeah, because you were saying the paper was different.
There wasn't one thing they got right about that order. They didn't print any of my variant covers. They just they printed the entire shipment as the originals, and I had to do a rush order somewhere local to get the fucking variants.
Right.
It was fucking maddening.
So you have just like a insane stock of the fucking of issue 3 now, right?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I was pretty poor, so I didn't get too many. But yeah, it's more than I needed. I mean, it's not more than I needed. It's the same number that I would have had, but I would have liked to have the variety of covers.
Sure. Well, if once I make this connect at the shop, maybe we'll get you a spot to send them and get an order in for you, a couple orders for them
Yes,
to
please.
carry some shit.
And I'm excited to work with this new company, Comic Wellspring, because everybody's using them now, and they seem real good. Their customer, I've already talked to their customer service. They seem real nice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I like signed up, created an account just to ask a question, and like I got like a pretty decent response. Like it was within a day. Like it wasn't a crazy wait time, and I'm not even a customer yet. Like I haven't spent a dime with them yet. And they're already giving support.
That's exactly what happened to me.
That's
What are your thoughts? And do you know anybody who uses their online distribution portal or whatever it's called? You can sell through their shop.
Oh yeah.
Like
I don't know anyone that does that yet. Everyone is still kind of sticking to their own thing because like there is definitely a disconnect with those things, and I personally, just from based on consumer experience, I would be wary of it because like Indie Planet has been doing publishing and printing rather for a long time for indie comics. And like the prints always come out decent. Like I really haven't heard anyone with major complaints. As far like there's always a hiccup here and there, but like I've never heard anyone just like be like, holy shit, this whole thing fell apart. So like Indie Planet's been pretty decent, but like their like digital platform is pretty weak sauce. Like their online store, like the first time I used it, I bought something and I just didn't know where to go to get it. Like it doesn't say like download here. It doesn't, it just like I had to figure out, like I went to my profile and then I saw my like purchases and that's where I could click. It was just like, and like the files are named just like download this, whatever. So it was just like, I didn't know what the fucking file was until I downloaded it. So it just
sounds like something.
How
long ago was that? That sounds like something they must have resolved. Really?
This year.
Dang.
Yeah, no, it's like the actual like storefront online is not great.
That's weird.
Yeah, so like that's the only thing I haven't seen the Comics Wellspring side of it, but like it's like not necessarily everyone is good on both ends of that spectrum. So like the online e-commerce is a very interesting space. So like if people are good at if they're good at both, hey, hats off to them. That's great. That's even better. We're one step closer to the indie Steam, but I mean,
I'm still I'll put my money on you before any of them. I don't think anyone's really got
Oh
that kind of
man,
motivation.
man, that you know what? That feels good. That feels good. I appreciate that. Appreciate you saying that. No, I think there's an opportunity there, and I would love to see it, especially like with the app space kind of growing and apps just being more fully featured. Like, I mean, 5 years ago, shit, even less in some cases, mobile apps were fucking dog shit. Like,
Hmm.
you couldn't do shit on some mobile apps, and I would love to, and but like now there's that fight with the platform, right? Now there's the fight with Google. You know, you're going to give Google 30% of all your fucking sales. That's why you can't buy Kindle books anymore through the Amazon app. You have
I
to buy it
mean,
through the desktop.
I'm probably wrong because it hasn't happened yet in any industry that I can think of. But I've always felt like there's such a space, or no, not a space. In my own heart, there's such a like a longing for somebody to like be like, "Hey, I am not a corporation. I am a person who is going to make this big social network happen, and I'm going to keep it free, and I'm going to like, it's going to be indie, and I'm just going to do it because that's the power of the internet." Like comics is a medium where that could actually work. I think like, there are
It
so many
really could.
comic fans who really want to go to get their comics from a store, and you can recreate that feeling on the internet. You really can. It's not impossible. Wizards of the Coast can't do it. Probably even Comics Wellspring can't do it because they are a company, but you could do it.
That's true. That's true.
You could do it. Be
The
like, hey, I'm a fan.
the
You're a
key
fan.
the
Come
key
be
that
fans together.
yeah, the key there would be to try. I mean, like the 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 platform of choice is where it gets messy, and like this is where you get into the technical side
No,
of
you got to
things.
create your own.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like we're not going to whip out our own phones, right? So I don't know, we're beholden to the form factor. So for instance, like what is it? Global Comics. Global Comics is desktop only because of the 30% cut that iOS and or the Apple and Google take, because you buy and you pay into Global Comics, whether it's subscription or whatever. There is a transaction happening. So like if you move that to so like it would effectively have to be web only, but it would
Well,
be
it depends on
the key would be
what's.
to make it web like really like a really good experience web only on mobile, to make it app like without it being an on device app.
Can't you do it so that the app is completely free and the things through the app are free? And then you have an account that is a
Well, yeah, I mean
larger account?
that's effectively what Amazon's doing with Kindle books, right? Like you have to go to the desktop to buy them, but you can still read them and everything on the device. So yeah,
Exactly.
there is that
You can
workaround.
get around that.
Yeah,
You can get
but
around
it's
that.
like there's also something about nothing beats convenience. Like people spend obscene amounts of money when it's convenient and when they want something, and like if if there's a way to make it happen, if there's like I said, if you could make it so that the desktop and mobile web experience was so seamless that when you get into the website on the phone, regardless of the screen size and regardless of whatever else, that it still
Well,
looks good and it feels good and you could use it well.
another another model would be like you can see a bunch of free shit on your app and you have your collection on your desktop. We're primarily desktop, but you can get this app and you have this library because like a big part of your allure is going to be free shit anyway.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah,
put a fucking ton of
I envision the first issue and first chapter of every project being free on this.
yeah, put that all on the app.
I
That's convenient enough.
Because that to me is like, hey, you like this? Because that's what the magazine is, right? I make it's like I'm talking to somebody right now who I think may not even end up being on this issue because he hasn't responded yet with questions. But regardless,
Poor squirrel.
he was kind of like I think he's pushing out he's working on issue 5 of his book, um, and he's like I kind of feel bad about putting like a whole issue in there, and charging people elsewhere for it. I'm like, but that's the whole point, right? Like from my perspective, like I'm not going to argue with him about it if he doesn't want to put the whole issue in, whatever. But like, in my opinion, that's the whole point. Like it's the people who do who are participating in the community, right? By reading these interviews and like learning about the creator, not just, oh, I bought your book and, you know, I follow you on Instagram, but like they read this interview that, you know, I came up with these questions and I repeat them a lot because I think they're interesting questions. And I think as a reader and as another fellow creator, getting those points of view on these specific questions is helpful and is useful and it's interesting. That's, you know, I'm working on getting a few more questions in there, but I honestly, like, I go back to those questions because they're interesting. I like to know how people get past roadblocks in their writing, right? That's an interesting question to me because it's never the same fucking answer. Like some people are like, oh, I go for a fucking run. Some people, you know, listen to music. There's like a whole bunch of different ways. And it's like, some people may not have that tool. Some people may be sitting at, you know, I'm sure you've experienced it. Writer's block fucking sucks. Like when you're sitting there and you're staring at a page and you're like, I know words have to happen, but they're not happening. Like it sucks. So like having that kind of information there. So that's why I think the having like your first full issue in a book when you're charging for it, you know, elsewhere or whatever. Yeah. But that's the point, you know, 100 and whatever, 100, however many people are getting this magazine right now. And those are the people that can get that first issue free. And how many people are going to go back and read all the previous issues? Maybe a few, but it's not like this spread like wild crazy thing. Like I heard this is a thing I heard the other day. Somebody put a novel out that was doing ARC, and I still don't know what that means. Like I'm still like learning all this author shit. But
advanced reader copy.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's just advanced copy.
Okay, so it's like post beta reading then, I'm presuming. It's like the basically print copy, kind of like a final go through. Okay, makes sense. So they were at that stage, and they found out that somebody had leaked an ARC copy, and it went up on some site, and he saw that 50 copies had been downloaded. He's like, it's great to wake up to find out that I've moved 50 units, but it sucks to know that they were downloaded for free. And it's like, yeah, that's going to suck. But like, that's why I don't just like attach your PDF in this magazine. I go through it and I'm putting the image files inside of the framework of this magazine so that it's like, if that's how you choose to read this book, like it is an inconvenient fucking method. You got to scroll down, you know, 60 pages to get to, let's say, Regenesis 1 to read Regenesis 1. Like, or you could have fucking bought it and read that, not had to scroll through however much document to get there.
Well, this is, you know, I am not the best marketer. I'm not a good marketer probably. And this might not have even been the way that I felt when I started, but like, I love giving away free copies now. I'll gladly give anybody a free copy if it gets them interested in the series because, you know, my goal is to have readers. I do want to make money too.
Sure.
But like, I want people to love this series just as much. I love giving away free copies. And honestly, the thing that stops me from doing it the most is I feel bad for the people who have paid for it. Like, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to give away.
And I get it. Yeah. I understand that feeling, man. I understand that feeling. And, unprompted, one of the, you know, like because the last question, I don't know if you remember, the last question that I always ask everybody is like, what are like 3 tips you can give to people like that want to become creators or whatever. And somebody said, don't be stingy with your PDFs. And I was like, I like that. I like that because like at the end of the day, if I buy a copy of like whatever, X-Men #1, because they're going to relaunch it at some point, right? I buy X-Men #1 and I hand it to my cousin, say, hey, this is dope. You should read this.
That's a win.
That's a win. And if he thinks it's dope, he's either going to give me my copy back or I'm going to say, you keep that. I'm going to buy another one. And then he might buy 2. He might buy the next one and buy the third one or et cetera. I don't know. Like, to me, it's the same thing. It's just I emailed it to you. Like, it's the same concept to me. Because, like, I am happy to be on record and say that in the scan era, I read a lot of comics that I didn't have in the early days. And I think it's funny. I made a I made a big stink about this when I did a TikTok video, but I read an X-Men trade recently, and it had scanned pages in it. So they must have lost the files at some point, because I was going from like a clean digitally recolored page to this is definitely scanned from a newsprint copy of this comic book. And I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, because I remember in the early 2000s, Marvel was fucking just wiping websites off the internet because they were scanning comics.
Pirates.
And I get it. I understand the concept. But at the same time, like, if I didn't read some of those books, I wouldn't own some of these trades behind me. Because I don't know from certain books, because I never heard about XYZ character, or I was never going to reach out, and like, I was super Marvel. Like, I was heavy Marvel. So I was like, like Batman, whatever. Like, I like the cartoons. I like the movies. I had no, like, I was picking up like the odd Elseworld story here and there, because I felt like I understood the concept of Batman, and like there wasn't much interest in it. But like, I read some of these scanned comics in the early 2000s, and now I've got a whole ass section of Batman up here, and now I've developed a whole appreciation for the character in a way that I'm buying Batman books when they drop new. So like,
Batman's the shit.
There's a different, like, in a universe with no scanned comics, all you see behind me is X-Men, Spider-Man, and Avengers. That's all I liked. You know what I'm saying?
And is that because of the TV show? What got you into them?
Spider-Man was the first cartoon I watched, and X-Men forever will be my favorite. The early '90s cartoon show, the X-Men TV show, basically taught me how to be a human being. Like, nice. the don't be a fucking racist, don't hate people because they look different, like, be a good fucking person, you cunt. Like, that's basically the message of that show. Because, and I didn't realize it as a kid watching it, but when I rewatched it probably 5 years ago, how often they browbeat you with racists are bad is crazy. Because it's like, in the middle of a conversation, you see a TV in the background, and it's like Friends of Humanity. They're going crazy. Like, oh man, I wish they'd just leave us alone. Like, these motherfuckers are just trying to have dinner. These guys are trying to break down the walls of the fucking house. Like,
you're not just giving them credit for your comic fandom. You're giving them credit for your humanity too.
Absolutely. And it's until I started listening to Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, I didn't even understand why I liked it as much as I did. But then they used the term that I'd never heard before, but then they explained it, and I was like, yep, that's exactly it. And it's found family. I didn't know that term until like 3 years ago, or whenever I started listening to their podcast. And I was like, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Because I was uprooted from my home. I lived in a different country, had to make friends. And then I was uprooted from that again and moved into Chicago. And then I moved out of the fucking city into the suburbs without any input. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my whole life. And I kept having to find people to relate to, because I kept being pulled away from the people that I cared about.
You're an X-Man.
I'm an X-Man. And I'm okay with that. Like, and understanding that, like, and that's why I love that podcast. Like, if any, like, like I've said before, like Star Wars, and as much as like introspection as I have about certain books and certain things, I am not a deep analyst. Like, I am happy to watch Fast and the Furious, Transformers, and get the one thing that I want out of them. I want cars that go fast, pretty girls, fighting, robots that punch robots. Those are the things I expect from those two series. Like, that's what I get. I don't need deep context. I don't need, in-depth storytelling. Once in a while, yeah, it's shitty. Once in a while, it's like the goofy characters, like the two racist characters from Revenge of the Fallen. Like, there's those things that are obvious, but like, I can glance over pretty much everything else, because that's not why I'm here. But like, I listen to something like a J.M. Miles Explain the X-Men, and they go into like the deep analysis. Like, I did not know, up until I started listening to that, I did not know that Kitty Pryde was queer coded, and had been basically the entire fucking time. at least since Excalibur, and it never dawned on me. It never, like, I never thought of that. But then when they started talking about it, and I was like, yeah, now that you fucking bring it up, like, it makes sense. Like, I never once, like, the deepest I saw, and it's still to this day one of my favorite moments in comics. Right after she comes back from Excalibur and they're looking for Xavier and they're in San Francisco, and Kurt goes off and buys her, because she had lost hers for some reason, but he buys her a new Star of David and hands it to her, and he puts it around her neck. And it was like this, like, beautiful moment, because I'm like, he's clearly not Jewish. He's in some aspects like Christian, but she's Jewish, and she's missing, like, this piece of identity that, like, she lost along the way somewhere, and he knows this, so he went, and because he's a good friend to her. I was like, this is such a beautiful fucking moment. And, like, this dude is a blue fucking guy who teleports with a tail, but, like, the whole moment was very human, and it's like understanding and acknowledging this person's culture, and, like, the little shit. It's a little thing. Like, here's a necklace, right? But it was the way it was presented. I was like, this is a fucking great moment. But that's why, like, great, right? That's why they're like, so that's why they're such a tight knit group. Like accepting and especially understanding those little things about the people that are in your life. That's the shit that makes life great. Like, it's not, oh, the fucking trip that we took, and it's not this, big present that somebody got. It's like the little shit that truly, like, last year, and this still kind of makes me tear up. Last year for Christmas, I got a Power Rangers hoodie. I'm a big dude, clearly. I'm 6'5". I was 6'4" in 8th grade. I have never,
holy shit.
and I'm sorry, I was 6 foot. I was 6 foot in 8th grade. I have never in my life, since I started liking Power Rangers, I've never been able to have like a well-fitting Power Rangers piece of clothing. No t-shirts, no nothing. I had my shoes were size 12 in 8th grade, dude. Like, I had nothing, kids. I wore polos for, like, my entire teenage years because I was buying adult clothes.
Yeah, I didn't know you were that tall.
Yeah, I'm 6'5" now, dude. Like, I'm tall as shit. So and I'm huge. So it's like, it's this whole thing. My big sister, who is, like, she's not blood related to me, but, like, that's my family. That's my sister. So, like, she got me this hoodie. Our friend does embroidery. They got this custom pattern from Etsy. They fucking embroidered the 5 original Rangers on the back. I fucking broke down. And because it's like, it's this little thing. I'd never fucking complained about not having that shit. It was just like, I didn't have one. And the fact that she noticed, the fact that she, like, put all this energy into making this happen blew my fucking whole, like, that was the best Christmas present I'd gotten.
That would make
me
cry for sure.
I'm saying, but that's like those little things that connect us. And that's the kind of shit that's like, when it's well presented, when it's a good story, it doesn't matter that this motherfucker has a tail and can fucking teleport and shit. Like, none of that shit matters, because when it's well presented, like, the death of Colossus is one of the saddest fucking things ever written.
Because he's a good guy. It's so bad.
He's a good dude. He did it because when his sister died in 193, he has felt bad about her death, at that point for 20 fucking years or 10 years. And Beast says, I got the fucking cure for this thing that killed your sister. Oh shit, but the first person that uses it is going to die. I'm going to work this out. Like, everybody chill. I'm going to put this away. I'm going to figure this out. Colossus says, nah. Injects, transforms, activates the cure overnight. The fucking the legacy virus is cured. And it's like, they quoted the original dialogue from Giant Size #1 when Xavier went to get him. Like, oh, the fucking presentation, the sacrifice, beautiful fucking moment. One of the saddest fucking things I've ever read. And it's like, it's in kids comics. Like, it's kid stuff. And that's the thing that, when I think back, like, my mom convinced me when I was 18 that, like, that was kid stuff and I should get rid of my comics. I got rid of all my Wizards, all the comics I had at the time. And it's funny because like the bottom shelf down there is all Wizard magazines because I'm recollecting it because I actually really enjoy reading that shit because it's like behind the scenes from the 90s, and it's fucking hilarious to read because it's like a lot of shit is true and a lot of shit went way sideways. But it's like that's like as far as like regrets, I wish like I had the foresight to be like, nah, it's not kid stuff. I like this shit. I'm gonna keep my shit. So like,
You said you were 18.
I was 18. She was like, that's kid stuff. You're a grown man now. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. Like, I didn't have like, I hadn't like settled on an identity yet. I still was a kid, for
Come
fucking
on,
months.
Mom.
Yeah, right. And it's like she's coming at it from the old country, like she's coming at it from you're a grown up now, you need to get a job now, you need to go to college, and because she was guiding me to go to college to get a good paying job, like that's why I was going to college. It had nothing to do with like getting educated or the experience or anything like that. It was
That's for a lot of people.
yeah, and it's like the whole thing was it wasn't about what I wanted, it was about go do this thing because you will be able to get a good job. And that's why it sucked. Like, I went for the wrong reasons and found out quickly that a big college space was not fucking for me, man. Like fucking lecture halls and shit. Not my game. Not my game at all. But yeah, I mean that's the whole thing is like, now, I don't even know fucking how we got to this, but regardless, the X-Men definitely built me up because my mom always worked and it was me and the TV. And I knew you had to do the right thing because of Power Rangers. That's a very like clear cut good versus evil. Like good guys do good things. They protect people. They save lives. And then the X-Men taught me not to be a fucking racist and to treat people well, that from all different backgrounds. And I think that has served me fucking very well. And honestly, that's kind of why I feel like some kids are a little brattier than they used to be, because I feel like cartoons don't do that anymore. And now there's so much media.
I work with kids, and I just had a big discussion about multimedia, and it was a 8-year-old was complaining about their parents not letting them watch TikTok.
Bruh.
And I was like, you guys should be watching like movies. You guys should watch something. And they were like, yeah, I like movies too. But they got too much crap media. I'm an old man. I'm allowed to say it now. Kids are watching a bunch of bull crap now.
It's been kind of like, it's been diluted. It's been diluted in such a way. And it's very money motivated. It's like, to go back to Hasbro, this has been a growing complaint for me. Since they stopped doing the movies regularly, they've been focusing more on toys based on the comics. Like I said, I collect the toys, but I like good, well-made, like intricate Transformers. Like I feel like the old shit, as old as it was, felt intricate. Like the way they did it.
There's a big quality. I mean, there are good plastic ones too, but if they're made out of metal,
yeah, that's a whole different ballgame. I've got a couple of those, but like even plastic, like the ones that are really well done, well designed, lots of detail, the shit that I like, you're not even looking at one under $50. And I was like, in 2009, when they came out with all the Transformers toys for the movies, they were horrible. Like some people said, way too intricate, way too complicated. And they were $15.
There are a few that are, I don't remember what the series that I was buying was, but I know I have a Blur, and there's one other, I think it's a motorcycle, but I don't know his name. There were a few that are fucking really good, and they are lightweight plastic, but the design is just
when the design is good, the material is almost irrelevant. Like when it's really well made, it doesn't matter. But it's like they have simplified the shows. The shows are all very angular, very blocky, very simple. And a lot of the newer shows are like super, super young kids based. So then the shit that they put out at the cheaper prices is all for them. And then even that, like some of the stuff that's like my nephew is 3, and I was like, oh, I want to get him this, like, it's like a Bop Optimus. Like you just hit it once and it opens up, right? $30 fucking dollars.
Mm.
But it's just like it's a one button. It's like a one mode transform. It doesn't do anything. That's it. It's just.
Cute?
I mean, it's an Optimus. It's but
know.
but it's for like 3-year-olds, right? It's for 3-year-olds, and I'm just
If it's
like,
really cute,
how
that
is
sounds-
it fucking $30? And it's like all these simple, non-detailed are the ones that are cheap because the cartoons are all simple and not a lot of depth and intricacy. Because like honestly, you look back at like the Batman show. The Batman show was like the 90s Batman animated series. I mean, R.I.P. to the GOAT. Like that is the Batman. And
They got some good toys too.
great fucking toys, and that was a very simplified fucking drawing style. But they had great fucking toys.
I have a Mudman. What's that guy's name? Is it just Mudman?
Clayface?
Clayface. Yeah, I have a Clayface. Oh my god, that toy is amazing.
Dude, it's just wild to see, like, because of marketing, right? It's cheaper. Like it's cheaper to make this shit than it ever was, guaranteed. Like it's not more expensive now to fucking mold plastic than it was 20 years ago. Especially when you have the fucking infrastructure, and especially when I don't want to say half, but like a third of your fucking product line is just reusing the old molds. That's what a lot of Transformers is repaints. Like a lot of Transformers is just repaints, and so you're not spending a lot on like R&D and developing all like fancy new shit. So like you're just marking the shit up to get more money. You put out 3 or 4 cartoons at the same time that are all Transformers for the kids. So now all the fucking kids want Transformers. You mark up the Transformers toys, but you don't make them complicated or like fun. So they're going to get rid of them in a few years when their brains develop a little more. And then you make the good ones, you make them $50 fucking dollars. So now 10-year-old Billy wants the $50 Optimus because that's dope. This one's for kids. This one's dope.
That's so smart.
You can't get a fucking $16 decent looking toy anymore as a kid. You gotta get your fucking parents to buy you a $50 fucking investment. Like,
yeah, fucking rich kids.
yeah, well that's the fucking problem, man. There's just like the it goes back to the magic, right? Like they're marking this shit up to get the most out of it. But it's all short game. It's all short game. Like there was an indie creator a while back that I talked to. I forget the name. I forget the book. But I will never forget the fucking interaction. I was like, hey, when's the campaign going? Because like they were looking for like 20 grand, and I was like, that is a fucking lot of money for a single issue, right? And I was like, when's the, like, what's the story about? And he kind of gives me like this loose description, and it's not done. And I was like, oh, like it's not even written. But he's got a bunch of like variant covers with like, because he's like, oh, my character is so fucking powerful that he can beat like all the goats from all the universes, right? He can beat Goku, he can beat Superman, and he's paid someone at this point to make artwork for that to show off this guy's ability, and those are his variant covers. And I was like, oh, that's weird. That seems a little sketch, because I don't think you could do that. You can't just put Goku on your fucking cover and not expect to pay, fucking who owns Goku, shit like that. But like his whole thing was that he was selling the artwork of these variant covers. That's really what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it, like, the campaign was deadlocked. It was not moving. I think he had, like, there was like $1,400 pledged, and it just wasn't moving. There was no push. And I was like, why don't you like tell me about the story? Like, when's the artwork going to be done? Like, when's this? Or because I don't even think he had a script. So I was like, what's the plan for the book? And he's just like real defensive about the plan. And I was like, well, if you don't mind me asking, like, why is the goal so high? And he's like, we're trying to put out the whole book. Like, you don't understand. He's like, it doesn't matter if this is successful or not. And then I was like, then why the fuck are you doing it, right? Because that seems like a weird thing to say. He's like, because my book is going to be in Diamond in 2 months. It's going to be in previews. And I was like, oh, I mean, that seems weird that you would even do a Kickstarter then. Because if your book's going to be in He's like, I'm just trying to. He's like, I'm selling these variants that we custom made, and I was like, okay, I mean that's fine, whatever. And guess what? Guess what, man? I've never heard the name of his character since, because like the attitude was just so fucking shitty.
I really thought you were going to flip the script and say
No.
that he made it.
No, I've never heard of the character since. I've never seen that artwork since. No one's ever fucking shared it. And I continue to expand my reach in this space, and I have never heard of this dude. And that's what I'm saying. To this day, like, I couldn't tell you what the name of the book was.
Oh well.
Yeah, like, yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember the name of the guy. I don't remember the name of the book. It all disappeared. And I was like, because I remember at one point I did look for it. I was like, oh, let me check previews. And I just went on it because I messaged him on Facebook. So like I had the chat still. So I just scrolled down until I found it. And I was like, let me go to previews and I'll just search for it. Nothing. And I was like, see, I like when you just talk a big game and you don't produce, you're not going to hit that 20K. But when you make a reasonable request and say, hey, I need $2,500 to print this book, and then you hit that in 4 days.
Did you see my price point too?
What you mean?
My comics are pretty cheap this time. I was able to lower the price on everything.
I did see him. I do appreciate that somebody got that 800 spot. I like that.
And you know that I don't probably shouldn't say his name. He was also one of the people who got one of the major spots on my first campaign.
That's really cool. That's really cool. That's a great fan.
It really is. He's a great dude. I'm really, really glad to have him. And he's written in it as a character already. And this one, I'm not sure what he wants to do. I hope he does a family member, but we'll see. He's I don't want to say his name, but
that's fine.
He's a champion.
But I like seeing that it was kind of spread out across, right? Because I hadn't read all the tiers, but I was driving along. I had my cousin read the tiers and how many people were doing them, and I was like, it's like you got a little bit here, you got a little bit here. Like it's everything is kind of getting touched. It's not just one thing. It's not just everyone buying the book. It's not everyone just buying the hoodies or whatever. Everyone's kind of touching a little bit of everything.
Something weird? I haven't sold a single hoodie yet.
Do you have those made, or is this something you're gonna? You got to put it on someone, man. Put it on someone.
I think I got a picture of my sister wearing it. But yeah, I'm not doing like I said, I'm a terrible marketer. Terrible at marketing.
We gotta figure out a way to move that. I think it's a cool hoodie. I just am not I personally. You don't have my size for sure, so that's okay.
I can get one.
But no, like if you like no, like that's we're not gonna do that. If the next thing you're getting, the next apparel you're getting is the hat. I'm telling you, the hat is gonna move. You're gonna move the hat. It's gonna be I don't know, whatever.
What should I put on it though? A flat brim with a illustration on it, or the logo?
It doesn't even have. I mean, the logo. I think the logo would be perfect because you already had those leather patches, and it looks great in leather. So I think if you do the Marshall's hat, and you do it like on the underside, so it's not like the obvious thing. You do it underneath. I'm talking about the leather. I'm talking about the Marshall's hat.
How much do those cost? I saw how much the boots were. How much for the hat?
The hats were ranging around like $200 to $300, and that's what I'm saying. You don't pre-buy, because what you even have the opportunity to do with that is if you present that as a tier, you could say it's limited to 2 or whatever. You could have it custom made, right? You get the information from the manufacturer. Hey, this is how we measure hats. This is how we measure the heads. You have the person who gets it measure their head. You send that info along. You got to put a little markup on there. So let's say if it's 300, you put it at 400, right? That's the tier.
You want to see something I hadn't custom made?
Show me.
No one's seen this before.
Oh, is that a minifig?
It's a little Lego, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, some
bloke in England made that too. I forget the name of the company.
There's a couple companies that do that stuff.
Yeah, this company, I don't think they're working anymore. It took them, I think they like went out of business while they were producing mine. Mine took like a year to make.
Oh,
And I think
geez.
yeah, I think they're going through tough times, COVID stuff.
Bummer. Yeah, man. COVID's hit a lot of people in a lot of different ways, man. It's been quite a fucking, to call it an adventure would do disservice,
Something
but
like that.
it's been something. It's been quite a
Life,
something.
life is hard.
Life, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's all over the place, right? It's every industry has been affected in some fashion,
Mhm.
and
And it's not over.
no,
We're gonna continue to see this for the rest of our lives.
I am hoping that it clears up to the degree that it is, and just like I mean, ideally better than, but like along the same level, of deadliness, if you will, as the flu, where it's like
Yeah.
an annual shot we can get that gives us like pretty solid protection.
It's pretty close. It's
We're
pretty
we're
close.
almost there. We're almost
As long as we
there
don't have another mutation. But I mean, the thing is that it's already fucked up our society so much. Like we're gonna
Yeah,
feel this for a lot longer than we feel the disease.
for sure, yeah. And but I mean, like I also think that it opened some eyes. I think it let a lot of people tell on themselves, and I'm a big fan of letting people tell on themselves. Um, there are many people who, I've got family members that I don't talk to no more because very early on we had a conversation about how COVID wasn't real, and I was like, "You're a fucking insane person. Like that doesn't make any fucking sense." And then
Wishful
once
thinking.
I mean, wishful think it's a story I'll tell you off record, if you will. But even when further evidence was presented, unfortunate evidence, it wasn't enough to convince them. So it's there are sometimes you just gotta let people tell on themselves, and I think it has done that, but it also gave a lot something that we had the George Floyd's death, and if we had been working at that time, I don't think that would have been what it was, and I don't think that would have been that. I don't think that would have been the rallying cry. It would, like, we would have still had protests, but I don't think it would have been a global
I
push.
haven't thought about it like that. That's interesting.
It was a global push for change that I don't think we would have gotten otherwise. And there's definitely a lot of negative from COVID and this whole era, but I think changes, the beginnings of change. I don't even say that changes have been made, but like changes are starting to be made, and we're looking at certain things differently. And I think that's a good thing. I think different conversations are being had. I mean, like before that, I never, the term defund the police and the concept behind it, and like just even me, like personally, like me analyzing my own like biases in terms of like how I react to certain shit. Because like the first time I heard defund the police, I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And then when it was, literally explained to me like I was a 5-year-old on TikTok, I was like, yeah, no, that tracks 100%. That makes perfect fucking sense. Cause like it's,
Hit him in the wallet.
yeah, well, when shit doesn't work, or when shit works the way, like for you as an individual, the way you expect it to, you don't think about the other aspects of it. Like when your phone works the way it needs to work, you don't think about what it took to make that phone. It makes phone calls. It goes on the websites that you want it to go on to. That's it. It doesn't matter. But like, you don't think about the fact that, potentially child labor was used to make it, potentially like underpaid
Because you can't
employee.
see it.
Yeah, you can't see it. You don't think about these things. But like, if all of a sudden a whole generation of phones was to like not work as great because the fucking workforce, fucking God forbid, died off, like we'd feel it. I mean, I think it's funny because like it's the, like you said, the effects of COVID are going to be around for a long time. Like you're seeing it in the automotive industry a lot, because there's a lot of shit that's being, like, shit that was standard 5 years ago, 3 years ago, is now no longer standard because the fucking chip shortage hit them so hard that they're like, well, now you don't necessarily get Bluetooth. Like, you don't necessarily get this, this heated seats and shit. Like, we don't have the fucking parts of that shit. Like certain shit just like that was like, oh, we're just adding in this luxury so that you'll spend another $2,000 for this next model up. It's not part of it.
I did see that. I think BMW is piloting a subscription service for heated seats.
God, insanity, fucking insanity.
Was that real?
That's a real thing.
I was kind of hoping that was fake.
That's a real thing, and it's disgusting. Like, it is a starting price $65,000 vehicle, I think, if not more.
Wait till your refrigerator upcharges you for ice.
Well, thank God I fucking manually tray my ice. It's crazy, dude. Like certain shit, and this is the funny thing. Like our local NPR station did a report a couple of months ago. It's so funny. We have gone off the entire rails on this, but our local NPR station, they did a report on a couple shops, like a bike shop and another kind of business that they had. I forget what the business was, but they had sold product, but they were shifting to services, and he tells the story like, oh, this is how we're bolstering our numbers because only people. I've always said, like, at some point everyone's got to have a cell phone. At some point everyone's got a goddamn mattress, like shit like that. I don't understand how there's 4 mattress stores in the same fucking city block. I've never, there's certain shit like that. So they're like, the bike shop is like, oh, we're doing more services. We're fixing more bikes. We're fixing more tires. We're teaching people how to fix bikes and shit. So those are all services that they're selling. So it's not, you don't need inventory for that. And this motherfucker is telling the story like it's news. Like it's the first time he's ever fucking heard it. I was like, did we all forget that like 7-8 years ago, Best Buy almost went out of business and they literally fired an entire job out of the company? They were just like, this management position no longer exists. It's your last day. For like, I think it was like 30 something people just in one day. It was like the middle district management or some shit like that. Just motherfuckers just disappeared overnight. And from that they shifted into like way more fucking repairs and all this shit. Geek Squad became a much bigger fucking aspect of their business. And now they'll fucking, for $200 a year or whatever, they'll come fix whatever the fuck you want for $50 a pop. But you got to give them that upfront $200 a year. And I was like, did we all forget this shit happened? Like this services as like a way to bolster your numbers is not a new thing, but that's what BMW wants. They don't want them because you can't move 70 million units of BMWs anymore. In 2005 you could, but in 2025 you won't be able to. So now you got to figure out a way to make more money off the people that are buying it. So yeah, shit is gonna get servicey real quick. I mean, that's what some computers are. A lot of computers are the same shit goes in them, but they they'll put a quad core processor in your shit. They'll just lock 2 cores. You're paying for a dual core. They don't have to make 2 chips. That's all it is. It's just efficiency of manufacturing. Yeah, it's efficiency of manufacturing. They flip a switch in the code. You have a dual core processor for cheaper, but they make more money off of selling 2 things to 2 different people at 2 different price points.
I mean, I remember waiting to get my Pentium 90 so I could play Diablo 1.
This man said really Pentium 90.
I wanted it so fucking bad.
Pentium 90? Brother, you're not that much older than me.
I had a 386 and then I had a 486 and I was like, I need that Pentium, Dad. And I was like, I can't afford it.
You are not that much older than me. How old are you?
38.
You are the same age as me. I am older than you. I think am I 39 now? I don't know. We're about the same age, let's say.
I really wanted to play Diablo.
Damn, were you a rich kid? Cuz like I got a 500 megahertz Pentium 3 in 2000.
Wait.
500 megahertz.
Pentium 90 was the what there was the minimum requirements. The only reason I remember it was because the minimum requirements to get
When did
played
Diablo come out?
Diablo.
When did Diablo
And
come out?
David Gromping had fucking Diablo, and I was like, I need that shit so bad, and my dad couldn't afford it.
Diablo release date. Let's see. December 31st, 1996. Holy shit.
I wanted that shit so bad.
Dude, you had a
So
computer way before me. Dude, I was in high school when I got my first computer.
Does that make my dad rich? I think it makes him a nerd. We had
I mean, it might
we had
make,
one of those.
but they were expensive back then. The computer.
We had one of those monitors that was green and black. I loved that thing.
Oh my god,
Only
yeah, I know what
two
you're talking about.
colors.
A friend of mine who
Green and
was a
white.
rich kid definitely had one of those. I was it Word Perfect. I wrote in Word Perfect, and I thought that was the coolest thing
I
ever.
remember WordPerfect. What was our operating system? When we went to color, we finally got a color monitor, and it was PC Geos. It was pre-Windows.
Yeah, my first at home, my first computer was Windows 90. Was it 98? I think it was 98. I think it was 98. My first computer that I used had 95 because that was at school. They had 95 SE or whatever. Yeah, but no. Yeah. My first computer was yeah. Damn, you had a computer way before I did. But like a lot of people did. A lot of people did, but it was one of those like it was a novelty for most people. From everyone that I knew that had a computer that early, it was a novelty. You couldn't do anything on them. But like when I got mine, I played Test Drive 4 on mine. That is the coolest fun. To this day, I think that's the game I've had the most fun playing as a racing game. It's a terrible fucking game. I've tried playing it since. Horrible fucking mechanics. Like, now that I know how video games are supposed to work, no, dude. Terrible game. But at the time, best thing I could have played.
I don't know why my dad bought his. It wasn't for work. He was a fireman at the time.
He really wanted you to play that Diablo.
No, he didn't let me. I did not get the Diablo.
Oh my god.
No, we did have one game, and it was we had Reader Rabbit, and what was the other one? Math Blaster.
You would have been young, dude. You would have been like what, like 11, 12?
I think that's why. I think that's why he bought it. I think he wanted me to get into computers. It's like, teach this little guy how to code. I did learn DOS. I learned DOS very, very well.
Dude, I learned BASIC in high school. I learned C++ in high school. And it's funny because like C++ and just like the C family of languages carries over so fucking much. Because I started doing a gaming class through Udemy, and C# is just like polished C. It's C++ with some ease of use. Like JavaScript is effectively C++, just a little friendlier. Like it's so funny. Like it's all so like, so it's also effectively derivative. Like it's, all this shit was made 30 years ago and we're just like polishing it. Just keep polishing it a little bit. Like, so interesting.
I wish I could get back into that. I'm too dyslexic to code. I wish I could. I love computers.
Dude, we're you could skip over it. They're moving now. They're calling. I was just watched a video on this. They're moving all the way into, oh my god, what are they? It has a term, but it's basically you don't need to code. You just pick and choose actions, and shit just happens.
The coding programs that they use to teach my kids how to code, they're really, really intuitive. Like, I can do it. No, they're literally shaped like puzzle pieces. Like, this one can connect to these can connect to these. Once you learn what can connect where, it's very visual.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just Sarah Dietschy, that's who it was. Sarah Dietschy did a video, and she was like learning building. She said building an app in 24 hours or whatever, and it was, I was like, no way, like that's fucking crazy. And then I watched the shit she was using, and it's very much like when this happened, like you just it's like drag and drop flowcharts. It's like when this happens, do this. When this happens, do this. I was like, that's real fucking easy. Like that feels like it's gonna be a real easy way for a lot of people to get their first app out and get just get their feet wet, especially in that kind of space. Like Yeah. Now we have sidelined and we have This would have been perfect for an episode of Tangents. That's my other podcast that I do, where we just go off on topics. This would have been a perfect fucking podcast for that.
And I have enjoyed myself, but I have to go to sleep.
I completely understand. I think
It is past my bedtime.
Ooh, yeah, I'm pushing too. So that is going to make it. That is going to be it for this one. Of course, make sure you check out Frontier Forever on Kickstarter. We still have many days to go. 25 days.
Yeah, it ends like the week before Christmas, I think.
Plenty of time. Make sure you go check it out. Get your copy today. Everything's on there, right? You have the comic, you have the graphic novel, and you have the novel as well, right?
Yeah, if it's not on the main screen, it's in the add-ons, and
Perfect.
if you can't figure it out, just send me a message. I will hook you up.
Perfect.
Tell them Dalibor sent you.
Yeah, there you go. You get an extra sticker. that's the Panels on Pages deal.
I am putting in a ton of stickers this time. I think I'm gonna. Did you see the chibi ones?
No.
I think I'm gonna do another. I think I'm gonna do another set of chibis, and
This is
Yeah.
the current. This is the current. The pins. The pins is the current like favorite across the fucking Kickstarters. I have probably 15 fucking pins. Yeah, I like that pin. That's a good pin.
yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I got your pins are. Yeah, I got them around here. Yeah, they're right there. Yeah, I've got. I have a specific bag system that I use, and they have a like a cover for the outside of the bag that you use just for pins. And I was like, I gotta get that shit. So that's gonna be it. Let's wrap it up. That's gonna be it for this one. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Again, make sure you check out Frontier Forever. Ben, thank you so much for being on the podcast and spending all this time with me.
Anytime, sir. I appreciate it.
All right. See you guys in the next one.
Before they go living, my vision is vivid. I wander the places they marvel. The shit that I'm talking is low-key a novel. Yeah, I'm so lit, but a lonely spark. About to end game like Tony Stark.